Yeah, he was at A&M Consolidated, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I believe so. Yeah. All right, thanks, man.
Championship there. Take care, guys.
Thank you very much. That's Jason King with us on SicEm365 Radio. Coming up next, I got to tell you, I haven't heard back from Tommy Harris. Roy Williams will join us at 4:30. Van McElroy and eventually Dustin Denard, a professional stuntman who played receiver at Baylor. All of that to come. We'll see if Tommy Harris is locked and loaded with us next on SicEm365 Radio.
Are you in the market for a new home or you're trying to sell your current home? Well, call my friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty. They can be your go-to source as you search for your perfect home. Lance is going to listen to everything you have to say. He's a very enthusiastic person. He's a fun guy to be around. He's a great listener.
Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Brewer, throw over the middle, caught, Mims, touchdown, Sikkim Bears.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
OJ's the back on the short yardage. OJ turns. He's got it. 50, 45, 40, 35, 30-yard line.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Here's Elliott on 2nd and 4. First down and more. Stays upright. Touchdown, Elliott.
Have you downloaded the SicEm365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
They just get the play off. Bouchel, open man. He's got Prochet. And the Mustangs strike first on the road.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. We have a saying that you stick your head in a tank of gasoline and then hopefully, carefully, light it with a match. That's kind of tongue-in-cheek because we are locked and absolutely loaded today. O.J. Anderson, Greg Tepper, Grayson Grundhafer, Darren Roberts, Trent Shelton, Shane Bouchel, Mike Haynes, Santana Dotson, all of them. Santana Dotson's so good he's coming back for a second helping. Just a couple and a half months into our SicEm365 Radio with Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoke. Guys, here we go. Let's get to some stories. Oklahoma State, a one-year NCAA men's basketball ban for an assistant coach, associate head coach, who accepted between $18,000 and $22,000 in bribes from financial advisors to influence student athletes. Is this a part of the Adidas scandal?
Yes, it is Lamont Evans. He was the one that was involved in that. And what does that mean for the schools that were also involved? What is it going to mean for LSU? What's it going to mean for Kansas?
The one-year ban, by the way, they have the number one ranked player in the country who is supposed to play for them this year in Cade Cunningham. They'll have a one-year ban, and he now has the option if he wants to play at Oklahoma State or end up in the G League and just go straight to playing pro. But if that's one level one violation, Kansas faces 5 of them, yet Kansas is in that, this is another committee that's going to look at you.
Yeah.
Which is supposed to be a committee that might be worse, but there may be a loophole there.
I think we'll see a lot depending on what happens with these other schools. You know, if Oklahoma State gets hammered the way that they did, and I don't know that Cunningham's going to end up playing there. I think you're right. I think he'll probably go to the G League or he'll, get his release now that the penalties have been announced, just like those Baylor recruits did when all of that unfolded. Now he will probably go just straight to making money, or I guess he could potentially go elsewhere. Obviously, every school in the country is probably knocking at his door right now to say, hey, just saw the news. You might want to come on and head on over. But, that's a big blow for Oklahoma State in that program.
There's tampering going left and right.
I believe it when I see it on the other schools, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially the large alpha dogs, like what we saw with North Carolina was, they fought it and they got away with what was academic fraud, but they found a way legally to do so. I know Danny Casper. I haven't talked to Danny Casper in a long time. He was on this show we had when it was a radio. This is SicEm365 Radio on the app brought to you by Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. On Facebook, on YouTube, all across the board, online, SicEm365.com. He played at MCC. Danny coached at Baylor from 86 to 91 as an assistant. He was an assistant coach at SFA right after I graduated, and then became their head coach and did very well for 14 years. Known for a hard, tough, defensive team. He has been accused of racially biased comments by a couple of one player came out and said something, Shed, another player, two came out and then supported what Shed said. The doctor from the athletic director at Texas State said that they are now conducting and launching a formal investigation through the Office of Equal Opportunity and Title IX to fully cooperate with the investigation. And I guess, I don't know, he probably is put on leave, have not heard from him. I reached out to someone who's one of his absolute best friends to hear if he's had any idea. This, you read over it real quick. And again, we have O.J. Anderson in about 8 minutes, 7 minutes. You read through a lot of what was going on, but he then is accused of using the N-word because if you can use it, I can use it.
Yes.
If, in fact, that's what he did.
Yeah, that's what he's been accused of doing. And he's made some other jokes that are racially insensitive or comments, and he had the way the article reads, it was kind of a sliding scale to build to that. And then, he used the logic of, well, if you can say it, I can say it, which is just not how that word works. It's just not.
Well, they've launched an investigation, so we'll see what happens there. But I would not be very confident in placing money on him having a long-term future there just based on what we've seen and the climate that we're in right now. So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting investigation by Texas State.
Cowboys released a video statement about Black Lives Matter and about George Floyd. Then they followed up with a statement of what it was about. There were 8 judges from the Dallas and Collin County area, and then also 7 police chiefs from around DFW, including former Dallas Police Chief David Brown. So they released a video. People have been asking, where's Jerry? Where are the Cowboys? Well, they did that.
Well, I would say this, though. Jerry is not in the video. And I think that's the big question is Jerry was very outspoken on the anthem thing, and that's the question people will have, but the Cowboys at least being out front about it. And, Dak Prescott's already pledged $1 million. Sean Lee's in the video. Tyrone Crawford's in the video. Zeke's in the video. So you've got team leaders and people that are there engaging with the public, with police officers and judges, and I thought it was really good.
Now we have videos, and we're going to look at all the people in the videos.
Yeah, but
The Athletic, which is, we have a lot of those guests. In fact, Max Olson from The Athletic. I haven't talked to John Machota. Have you?
No.
They cut significant staff. It's really been really good, but here's another online newspaper, so to speak, online website that we saw what happened to the .coms, ESPN, Fox, name it. Sports Illustrated also, that all non-union employees would be required to take a 15% pay cut, and so they're going through cutbacks.
We faced that ourselves a couple months ago, and I think a lot of these people who are cut today will land on their feet. I'm sure some of them are probably furloughs, so they'll have the opportunity to come back once sports returns. I will say on Sports Illustrated, I don't consider that Sports Illustrated anymore. That's Maven. That's a company who's doing things completely differently from the Sports Illustrated that we used to know and love, and a lot of the pieces that you see, even though they have some name guys, are basically just very poorly paid, like almost intern types that write the majority of their articles now. It is not the magazine you used to get in the mailbox, but it is something that people still go to. So, yeah, they've suffered. But, The Athletic, they've been bragging for the last year about all this funding they've been getting and funding, but they never really showed profit. And granted, they're early in their tenure, and, it takes time to eventually make money. But, they poured a lot of money into salaries and hiring pretty much every beat writer of significance across the country, and just kind of monopolied everything. And so, I'm not that surprised with it, honestly.
I was hoping that it wouldn't come to that, but here we go. Baseball's owners. Remember, it was, 82 games? The players wanted 110. Now they're focused on a 48-game season. Commissioner Rob Manfred, as the union and Major League Baseball owners continue to be at a stalemate. So we'll see what happens with that.
Let's just all unite together and watch Korean baseball.
All right, we got to take a break. I know you want to talk baseball, Paul, and I thought that they had turned the corner. When we come back, OJ, go ahead. Were you going to say anything? Okay, and we got UFC. There's a July 11th debut UFC fight, Craig Poirier and Hooker. No, that's in June, right? We'll get into that a little bit later in the show as well. When we come back, O.J. Anderson, former Super Bowl MVP. This is SicEm365 Radio.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
We're fighting hard at Pickup Outfitters in our battle to end truck nudity. But it's not just about putting an outfit on a naked truck, it's about making sure you have the very best customer service. So we offer the Pickup Outfitters Lifetime Installation Guarantee. Over time, sometimes your outfit needs a little tune-up, maybe some tightening, adjusting, whatever. If you outfitted your truck at Pickup Outfitters, that tune-up is absolutely no charge for the remainder of the time you own that truck. We also offer free warranty assistance. If for any reason you need to use your warranty, you just bring it back to us and we take care of it. It just makes sense. I mean, operating without a promise like that would be like offering customer service in the nude. And if you've seen our staff, trust me, you don't want that. So do your part to end truck nudity by outfitting your truck, Jeep, SUV, or van at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we promise to serve you fully clothed. Check out our website, createacommotion.com.
Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. And order 30-pound bags of live crawfish by noon on Thursday and pick up on Friday to enjoy the weekend. Live crawfish available right now. And Waco Custom Marketplace doors are open for business Monday through Friday from 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5. And crawfish boil boxes available as well. Make your order for live crawfish by noon on Thursday. Pick up on Friday for the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh kolaches, cinnamon rolls, and baked bread daily. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, and house-cured and smoked bacon. Spices, seasonings, soup mixes, charcoal, and lighter fluid. Waco Custom Marketplace, doors open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Drive forward at Allen Samuels. Get big summertime values on new Jeeps, the vehicles of summer. Now get 0% for 72 months and no payments for 90 days on select Jeep models. Plus, the all-new Jeep Gladiator now features employee pricing for all. Shop safely in person or shop and buy online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com. Now, more than ever, your friend in the car business. Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
OJ's the back on the short yardage. OJ turns. He's got it. 50, 45, 40, 35, 30-yard line.
The SicEm365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
Welcome back into SicEm365 Radio. We're working on O.J. Anderson right now, and I'll get him. I'll get him.
O.J. Anderson was a Super Bowl MVP. That was the game that started the run of the Bills losing 4 consecutive Super Bowls, and the first one the most heartbreaking on the Scott Norwood field goal kick that was off to the right. And then they lost to Washington, and then they were beaten by the Cowboys twice in L.A. and then Atlanta. Lost 4 straight. O.J. Anderson was a part of the 86 and also the 1990 Giants Super Bowl team. He was a spectacular player with Arizona or the Cardinals, and made a couple of Pro Bowls, made the All-Pro team. Otis O.J. Anderson will join us momentarily. Also, we'll have Greg Tepper on in this hour from Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. He'll join us as well as they are sending that out. You might even start to get that in the mail. And Ishmael Johnson will join us, who's part of the editor of the magazine. He'll join us on Monday as well with some of the stories within the magazine. So it's 3:15, Craig and Paul. I'm David Smoke. This is SicEm365 Radio, and efforting, as we say, O.J. Anderson. We got a little bit of a buffer. Grayson Grundhafer will join us today at 3:45. The baseball thing we were talking about, Paul continues to try to get O.J. to start off. Anytime you have as many guests as we do in the first one, you got to kind of hit it on time, and we'll have him here in just a second. So, Craig, they go from 82, the owners. Players wanted 110. The owners then turn around. Rob Manfred saying the owners have indicated a willingness to just unilaterally start a season without even reaching an agreement on the length. Just go.
Well, I mean, that would, be at least some baseball. I haven't read through all the details of what their new proposal is and what all that would entail. But, I mean, at this point, it's S or get off the pot baseball. It just is. You've got to come together and figure this out if you want to have a season. And you're not going to be able to push this all the way back until the end of the year where we're playing December baseball. That's just not feasibly possible. So if they're going to do this, they need to get to it, and they still have a little bit of buffer time. But, every time I see some positive momentum from Major League Baseball, it seems like there's a report that follows that says, oh, wait a second, no, never mind, we're not in agreement on this. So, they're given this unilateral number of games, and 48 games could probably be pretty exciting in baseball terms just because it would be one heck of a playoff race, but that would be, quite the departure from what we're used to. Nearly a quarter of a season would actually be the regular season, so that would definitely be a different baseball than we're accustomed to watching each year.
Yeah, and that would be like, again, starting a horse race on the final turn. That's 3/4 of the way through the season, 48 games, a little bit more than a quarter of a year. A quarter of the year, it's 140 and a half. So that will be interesting. Owners are claiming, and this doesn't mean it's true, but they're claiming that they're going to lose $640,000 per game without fans. The union has asked the owners to verify that. The number is accurate. The owners are saying, if the number is accurate, the owners are saying they would be willing to take a $460.8 million loss during a 48-game season. Under the 82-game proposal, teams would lose just under $11 million. So I don't know the truth here. There's no way that they would say, hey, we'll lose $460 million just to be stubborn, rather than having a longer season, we'll lose $11 million. There's no way. Owners are that's what they do. They make money.
Yeah. This whole thing is just so silly. Like, figure out a way to make your money and go do it.
I find it hilarious that the one sport that's actually outdoors and has social distancing already a part of the game itself, other than when a guy's on base, is the one that can't figure out how to have games.
And then even then, he still walks away from the base most of the time.
Right.
It's not like they stand there and hold hands until it's time for him to run.
The closest you get to anybody is in the dugout.
Yeah.
So the dugouts would probably have to need to be thought about. But I guess if you tested everybody, then you would have that in hand, those results, and know that those guys could be in close quarters. But Yeah, I mean, I just think baseball's coming across looking so bad, and I don't, single out the owners or the players. I just think as a whole entity, Paul, I don't think that they're in lock and haven't been for a very long time with the average sports fan out there. They've had this nose-in-the-air attitude really as long as I've been alive. Baseball's always been kind of the snobby sport, and I don't mean that as a negative. It's just, they think very highly of themselves. Just look no further than Hall of Fame voters.
Well, they've marketed themselves as America's pastime, which they used to be.
And they're not anymore.
And it's not anymore, and they need to get a modern understanding of what they are and who they are. And I don't think that they have that. And you'll find out real quick what people think of you now.
Yeah.
Real quick.
So the two main points to this, or the two main premises from the article that I was reading, was one, MLB is willing to pay, and I think you said this, but the full prorated share of their salaries over a 48-game season, or two, the MLBPA is willing to play an 82-game season at a full prorated share of player salary. So something's got to give somewhere in the middle between the two of those, because those are pretty far apart if you think about what each side is proposing. But, there's so many financial details and just muddy waters you can get into and trying to break down all of the numbers and the games and all of that. Bottom line is this: Major League Baseball needs to get its head out of the sand on where they are in the current sports landscape. And I say that as a lifelong baseball fan, somebody who absolutely loves the game. But, I'm not really missing it right. I mean, I am, and I'm not missing it right now. I'm missing it just because it's nice to have on TV and it's nice to follow along with, and I love the Rangers. But at the same time, when I see millionaires and billionaires feuding, it just is an automatic turnoff for me. And in this case, certainly, when you really don't have any excuses other than these negotiations to not be one of the sports that's already back at this point. I mean, look at the Korean Baseball League.
Yeah.
They've had multiple games already, and yet we can't seem to figure it out because both sides are just, not seeing eye to eye. Surprise, surprise, players and owners not seeing eye to eye.
No, they don't. They just don't. Baseball and owners have had they both have made a lot of money off of each other. The baseball union is very strong. They're the ones that are probably the strongest of anybody when it comes to professional sports. So we'll track down O.J. Anderson, and we are packed today, so it's going to be interesting if we can get in touch with him. I just spoke with him at 2:50, but we'll try to get O.J. Anderson on. Be a great guest. But right now we have Greg Tepper, Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. Shane Buechele of SMU will join us live today by phone at 4:45, one of the cover boys of the magazine. Greg, thank you. Paul and Craig, Smokey with us, and you as well. So how did the decision come about? Obviously, the 100-year thing, I love it. And then Shane Buechele is your cover boy.
Yeah, it's obviously, and Smokey, you and I have talked long enough that how seriously we take this charge. You know what I mean? This is something that we take seriously because we only get one shot at it. I'm very envious of places like Sports Illustrated that if they put out a cover they don't like, they can do it again the next week. For us, we get one shot at it a year, and we got to make sure it lives up. And so it's something we take very seriously. We come together in February usually and kind of come up with the decision for the cover. And it was a tough decision this year. But I'll tell you, when you take a look at what's been going on at SMU, the fact is that they've been really risen from the ashes for the first time in seemingly 30 years since the death penalty, and they're doing it in such a way that I think is more in line with what modern college football looks like. Here is Shane Buechele, a guy who went to the big program there at Texas, and it didn't work out. But he was able to land on his feet at SMU and help, and kind of they both reinvented themselves together. And it's such a remarkable story there, and it's something that I think we're seeing play out more and more in the college football ranks with the kind of opening up of the transfer rules and things like that. And beyond that, when you add in the fact that we haven't had SMU on the cover of the magazine since 1983, I mean, it was a really cool opportunity for us. We were excited to do it, and a lot of thought went into it, but we're pretty pleased being able to put Shane Buechele on the cover.
Was it Lance McElhaney? Was he on the cover? Was that 83?
It was Lance McElhaney in 1983. So everybody can update their spreadsheets now that it's Lance McElhaney and Shane Buechele, the last two SMU players.
Greg, you mentioned the transfer rule, and sometimes it works out for guys and sometimes it doesn't. What do you think it was about SMU and Shane Buechele that was such a perfect marriage?
Yeah, I think that when you add in the fact that I think Sonny Dykes has a lot to do with it. I think that Sonny Dykes is a guy who's known as being pretty quarterback friendly and a guy who can get the most out of quarterbacks. And furthermore, I think that when you talk with Shane Buechele, he'll look back on his experience at Texas and just figure out, sometimes it's just not the right fit. Sometimes that's not the program that you need right then at that exact moment. And so for me, whenever you and Shahan Jayaraja, wrote the main feature for the magazine and talking to folks around there, it was never a question of talent for Shane Buechele. He's always had the talent. It's just a matter of being put in the right position, the right fit. And sometimes it's easy. It's saying, one scheme just fits this guy's skill set a little bit better than another scheme. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes, guys just need a change of scenery. And I wonder if getting closer to home and being able to go in there and maybe not having Sam Ehlinger looking over his shoulder, that might be something that helped Shane Buechele really fit in and really blossom there at SMU. And I know the Ponies are pretty pleased to have him.
Greg, obviously because of coronavirus, there wasn't a lot of spring ball. Some teams were able to get some in, but most were not, and that includes high schools and colleges. How much of an effect did that have on just the information that you got, and how much did that just kind of create problems, if at all?
Yeah, it was a challenge. It was a challenge because this was a 400-page magazine that we put together almost exclusively remotely. We've been sheltering in place like pretty much everybody for a long time, and pretty much throughout the course of the magazine process. And so there were a number of challenges. Normally, let's just take the UTEP section, right? Shahan Jayaraja wrote the UTEP section for the ACML Texas football. Under normal circumstances, he flies out to El Paso for a day, talks to Dana Dimmel, talks to a couple of different players, gets everything he needs, and then maybe the next day, maybe stays the night, gets an extra nice couple meals there in El Paso, then hops on a plane, heads home, does a little bit of work on the plane. He's done. Well, this is a matter of going through and setting up all these different interviews, talking to all these different people, not only, acknowledging the fact that these guys are you got to strike that balance between acknowledging the fact that there is a pandemic going on and that things are different, but also that people want to read our stuff and get the same thing that they're used to, which is previewing the season. So you don't want to ignore it, but you also don't want to focus on it. And there's just a lot of things that take a few extra steps. Furthermore, earlier last week, we did an interview with Shane Buechele, for a big cover reveal and things like that. And that was the first time I'd ever spoken to him. I've been a managing editor here this was my 7th summer edition as managing editor. It is my 10th magazine overall. This is the first time I've ever shaken hands with the cover boy, because we were supposed to have a cover shoot on April 20th there at SMU. At that time, Dallas County had a shelter-in-place order, so I had to write the email to the folks at SMU and say, guys, love to do it, but I think it'll be illegal, so maybe we got to come up with other circumstances. So, everybody's it's about adapting, and I'm really proud of my team for being able to adapt and put together what should be a really fantastic product.
Had Matt Rule remained at Baylor, would that have been a very, very big part of your discussion of the cover boy?
I can tell you it was. Absolutely it was. I think that when I say that we come together in February to decide on the cover, that's true, but it's not the first time we're thinking of the cover. We think of it usually middle of the football season is when it first comes up in the office. We go, what do you guys think about so-and-so for the cover? And I'll tell you that, there were a number of Baylor possibilities there. Matt Rule was certainly one of them. James Lynch was certainly one of them. And furthermore, we did kick around the idea of Charlie Brewer on the cover. Also, Dave Aranda. Dave Aranda is a very compelling figure in the state of Texas, and a guy who we definitely gave some thought to. In the end, the story of Shane Buechele ended up being compelling enough for us to pull the trigger on that one, but Baylor was definitely in the mix there. We had about, I want to say, 3 or 4 different ideas there in that February meeting. We ended up going with Buechele, but Baylor was a big part of our discussions, not only whenever we were deciding to cover, but also kind of in the lead up to it.
Greg Tepper, Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, Shane Buechele on the cover, the 100th year of high school football also being focused as well.
Greg, what would we have to do to get on the cover? Just out of curiosity. I just want to know if it's a possibility that we can start working on.
Look, I'm just saying that, we're always looking for compelling stories, and so if you guys could, I'm not telling you to make some headlines, but if you were to make some headlines we couldn't ignore,
How about How about launching a brand new radio station that wasn't in existence until April the 6th? That could have been it right there.
Now we're talking. Okay, now we're talking. Unfortunately, we have the cover decided otherwise. Maybe we could just throw this thing in the trash.
So, Greg, with it being 100 years, I'd imagine that's taken a pretty big center stage as far as the publication this year. How did you guys go about, deciding how to commemorate the 100 years?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a huge challenge because this is a huge, massive story. Not only for the state, but in just personally for the magazine. Because when you think about it, our magazine is about half high school football, and how do you take something that is that's such not only a big part of Texana writ large, but also a big part of our magazine and commemorate it in a way that's appropriate. And so we had a bunch of different ideas for that secondary cover. We knew we wanted to celebrate the 100th anniversary. We had a bunch of different ideas of how to make it work. And in the end, we ended up partnering with a gentleman named Peyton Allfield, who is a graphic designer. Used to be at the Canadian Daily Record, doing unbelievable stuff up there in little Canadian Texas. Gets hired by Oklahoma State. Now he's going to be the director of graphic design at Texas A&M. And I kind of went to him. I'm like, look, here's the vision. Here's the idea we're trying to put together. What can you do with it? And so we ended up going and contacting Jay Black at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Great guy who was able to help us out with some photos to commemorate that and kind of the past. Because the idea that we want to do on that secondary cover is the story has always been in an age where everything is changing rapidly and things have fallen out of the public consciousness in a hurry. What is it about Texas high school football that's so sticky? What is it about it that makes it so special? And so we wanted to really commemorate it in a way that says, here is the past, and we're celebrating the past, but all that is done is lead to the moment now and to what continues to be a very bright future for Texas high school football. And so it was a huge challenge. We got a great secondary feature on kind of answering that question of why high school football has remained such a touchstone in people's lives. In there, written by Jay Plotkin, and it's something we're really proud of, and it's a challenge, but we're really pleased with the way that it turned out.
You guys, anything else? Is there a certain story, and I don't have the copy, and I know that we're going to get a handful, and we appreciate you, Greg. Is there a story in particular? Because sometimes there's one that just there's more than one that they kind of touch the heart. Is there one in particular that you want to share with us that people can look forward to?
There's a few different things because, I think one of the things that we wanted to do, I mentioned earlier that obviously the pandemic is something that is really on people's minds right now. And we wanted to make sure that we were able to tackle that in a way that, would acknowledge it as a huge factor in our lives right now, because we're also kind of a history magazine. We're kind of in a lot of ways, we're a reference material, but also in a way that spins it positive. And so one thing that we did, and maybe you saw it on Twitter, but there's a gentleman down there in far San Juan Alamo, PSJA Memorial, an assistant coach named Marco Regalado, who has gone kind of viral a couple times with these basically lampooning like coaching stereotypes. You know what I mean? Where it's got the old coach who won't retire, is just standing there sipping his coffee, and everyone right now is picturing that coach because we know exactly who he is. And the super intense defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator who, has played Madden so many times that his eyes are falling out. But he's done such a great job, and I think that's a great story. I actually had a bet with him. He said, "Hey, how many retweets to get me on the cover of Dave Campbell's?" I said, 500. And he did it in like 30 minutes. He was able to get 500 retweets. So we mocked up a cover, and we weren't able to put him on the main cover, but we wanted to make sure we acknowledged him in the magazine. And so that's something that I think is a really cool story that I think, I think we're going to look back on this pandemic as just a really tough time for a lot of different people. But here's a celebration of a guy who's able to put a smile on some people's face in a tough time. And that's certainly worth mentioning in our magazine.
Yeah, that's awesome. It is a massive undertaking. What Matt does, what Shihan does, what Ishmael's done, what you've done as well, Greg, it's hard to even fathom. But you did it. You did it under extreme circumstances. Can't wait to get my hands on one. Real quick, how can people get one if they haven't ordered it? What's the timeline on that? I know they'll be in the stores eventually.
Yeah, they'll be in the stores in July, but the best way to do it, if you go to texasfootball.com/subscribe, and actually, if you subscribe today, the day is today, that if you subscribe today, we can guarantee you that the magazine will be in your mailbox before it hits newsstand. So you can get it early if you go to texasfootball.com/subscribe. But you got to act today because we got to send that list over to the printer, I think, maybe on Saturday, but I'm sending it today, so I'm not waiting for y'all.
Yeah, no, I get that. Managing editor Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, also Fox Sports Southwest. Greg, thank you. Appreciate your time. Greg Tepper has become, in a short amount of time, really it's been a very short amount of time, just an absolute one of the faces of high school football in the state of Texas. 3:34 is the time. Still working on O.J. Anderson. We'll have Grayson on Baylor and recruiting at 3:45. Darren Roberts, a motivational speaker. Trent Shelton, former Baylor wide receiver. He has been on Facebook on like a Mondays and Wednesdays with messages. He was on last night, very late, with a message about today's America. And then also Hall of Famer Mike Haynes and Santana Dotson. This is SicEm365. Okay, I'm sorry. He's trying to get a hold of OJ? Okay. All right. We were going to take a break and then come back possibly with OJ. By the way, Max Olson, who is a part of The Athletic, who has been on the show with us and is on with us on Thursdays. You know, yesterday at the last second, he said, I can't make it at 4. Then I saw the story, Craig, about the layoffs and the people being cut, whatever. So I reached out to him today. He's fine. He then had a story about the NCAA transfer portal.
Yeah. Transfer portal has become already quite a mess, and I don't think we're going to have time now to really discuss this, but yeah, maybe we can later on.
Yeah, just over 200 people. Craig printed that out for me. We'll have that as well. Again, we flipped the switch. Greg Tepper just joined us, Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. We're now joined by two-time Super Bowl champion and also Super Bowl 25 MVP O.J. Anderson on SicEm365 Radio. O.J., thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Can you say exactly kind of what, obviously the game plan against Buffalo when you won that MVP is keep their offense off the field. Could it have been any more perfect what you guys did?
I don't think so. I think it's like the perfect storm when you put everything together and it actually works. Most times with football, you know, you can have an idea of stuff working and then it never does, but this particular time, everything worked out fine for us.
OJ, do you get the Bucky Dent treatment when you go to Buffalo? Like, are people mad at you in Buffalo, New York?
I don't think anybody in Buffalo like any Giant players, not just me. I don't think they like Giant players in general. They don't like the Cowboys. Everybody who beat them in the Super Bowl, I don't think they like them anymore.
You know, you were really, really good with the Cardinals, and then obviously you're traded or you moved to the Giants and played for the Giants. Could there have been a better fit for you based on what Parcells and the Giants wanted to do?
I mean, again, you talk about perfect storms or perfect scenario. That's exactly what happened. Me being traded to the Giants, maybe picked right when they were competing to have the best record in the division, which ultimately we ended up having the best record in the division, got a bye, and then they later on went on to win the Super Bowl against Denver. So me having an opportunity to be a part of that, and I remember Parcells saying to me that he put me in towards the end of the game with a possibility of scoring, and he said, you know what, in case you never get here again, kid, you don't know what it feels like. So I had to give him credit for being and having foresight to give me a chance. And look and behold, 5 years later, and we're back in it again. And yours truly was had another opportunity to score a touchdown. So I scored in both Super Bowls.
He was a master, Parcells, of saying exactly what you needed to hear when you needed to hear it, whether he needed to rag on you or he needed to do that. And he just kind of had that. Did you have a moment with him early on where you thought, man, this guy is just wearing me out? Or were you guys just in lockstep from the minute you got together?
Well, he knew of my talent. When he brought me there, he said, listen, we need to get some work out of the fullback position, so learn the fullback as well as offense, as well as the running back position. And that way, if I put you and Joe Morris in a game, then a team don't have a clue on who's going to take the ball, because both of you guys are pretty decent blockers, and you can block for one another. So the whole plan for me coming there was for me to help offset the dominancy when they had Maurice Carthon and Joe in the game. Everybody knew that Joe was going to get the ball. If he was on the right, he's going left. If he was on the left, he's going right. And it just was nowhere tricking the defense. So me being in there was just a distraction and also an opportunity to not be so predictable.
You know, the way that your career went, you had that really great start, 5 of 6 years with the Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals. You ran for 1,000 yards. There was a game you had, we're in Texas, there was a game you had against the Cowboys, and I believe that it's still right now thought of as one of the greatest performances in Cardinals history. Was like almost nearly 200 yards. Do you recall that game?
Yeah, it was my rookie season, first game out of the box against the Cowboys, 193, and technically it probably should have been more than that, because I had a play where I broke free in the secondary, and I don't know whether one of the linebackers or a defensive back grabbed my leg and pulled my shoe off, and I couldn't gain the balance. Had that not happened, it would have been probably about another 70, 80-yard run.
OJ, I was looking at some of your statistics, and between 75 and 76, you had a massive jump up in the number of carries. We hear about running backs and the number of carries, and guys who are getting 25 plus a game, and they kind of run through running backs nowadays in the NFL. But how much physically do you feel that much of an uptick in carrying the football when you jump like that?
You know what? You train yourself for that. That's why you have off season, so you can build up your strength and your endurance and able to, carry the ball. And then again, if you hit her instead of the hit E, if you hit them instead of receiving hits, that makes a big difference as well. So, you got to be able to also avoid licks, which was pretty good early on in my career. And then later on, I became more of an inside type runner. And again, I hit them before they hit me.
You were at the University of Miami, and I look back at what they were when you were there, as good as you were, and you had 1,200 yards your senior year. But they just weren't who they became very soon after you left. When Howard Snellenberger arrived, it changed everything. Did you ever think that Miami would become the way they dominated college football for nearly 15 or 20 years after you left?
Well, they give it to Howard, but really, Lou Saban was the one that really masterminded the turnaround, because Lou Saban, my senior year, he brought in the class of Jim Kelly, Mark Rush, Mark Rick, a whole lot of other players that ended up being part of the Snellenberger regime. But it was really Lou Saban that did it. And yes, Miami was such an opportunist type school. We had more athletes going to the pros because we played all the top teams. We played the Notre Dame, we played the Navy, we played Oklahoma, Nebraska, Colorado. We played teams that were big in other divisions, which gave us a spotlight and an opportunity to showcase talent. And that being said, most people don't remember, but Chuck Foreman, one of the most all-time exciting running backs that ever came out of Miami, but you don't hear a whole lot about him. But my time at Miami, every year we had a number 1 draft pick in the draft that went. My one year was Eddie Joe Edwards, the next year was Don Lattimore, and then my year was me, and then Don Smith was the first-round draft pick. Then later on, John Swain was one. J.T. Turner was the second rounder. So we call it pipeline to the pros, and that was the reason why we did that, because every player that basically came to Miami was guaranteed an opportunity to play against the top teams in the country. And if you just did well, you may have an opportunity to one day be a professional.
All right, so your business career after you retired from the Giants in the NFL, you were on the David Letterman, You also have been a part of Good Morning America. You were interviewed. You were there the year that Whitney Houston sang what was as good as it ever has been sung, the Star Spangled Banner.
Say it again, buddy. Say it again.
No one has ever sung the Star Spangled Banner like Whitney Houston.
And it never will be, unfortunately. It never will be. She put her foot on that one, man. When they tell you somebody put their foot on it, she put her foot on it. That's how you do it.
I sometimes just go to YouTube or whatever and just turn it on. You know, if you just kind of just let her blast. I mean, she was spectacular. But you have been very heavily involved, and we'll wrap it up with this, very heavily involved as an entrepreneur, business, broadcast. You've kept yourself pretty busy, haven't you?
I've been blessed to the point where I took advantage of relationships. For the first 9 years, you just know what you want to do, and then eventually you start figuring out just an opportunity to, I work in insurance. Well, and I would basically do a marketing for the company, and then later on, parlay that into a company where I'm small, for a company called, and we do court reporting, and basically we get lawyers and insurance guys to utilize our company for the technology in order to do positions and do presentations at the courtroom. To be able to do that, and then I have who has a company and at that company we do trade shows all over the country, which has been down because of what's going on, but we trade shows, we build big, gorgeous booths that you see at these shows. We are part of companies that do that, and it's been great. And then we just opened up a new branch of Metro, and called Tridella. This will be really exciting for those people who listening in. There is a new technology that we are the only company that has the machine, the technology to take a picture, a regular picture, or of an individual, and turn it into a 3D image with a shadow box cover. If that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
So if you think of how shadow boxes are when you buy these footballs or pictures and you sit inside of a box, well, we're taking a 3D type technology and transform that into a shadow box resemblance. And now you can put your kid running or your kid make a soccer ball and make it pops out at you as if they're actually doing it as you sit there and watch. So it's comes from Tridella. They can probably look it up, and it's hottest technology out there. And you're gonna hear more about it because we've just been given the license by the NFL to do some things for them and try that world.
That's awesome.
Lawrence Taylor is one of the partners. I'm one. Lawrence is one. Phil Van Lucas is the owner, but LT and I, we help do marketing. Barry Dickerson is a part of a family. Charles Oakley, John Stark, Stephen Baker, Larry Johnson. We are all part of a marketing team that has promoted and pushed Tridella. Actually, LT was down at the Super Bowl, and you might be able to pull it up on maybe a YouTube or something where you pull up LT introduced Tridella to the world. We'll get ready. Hope this pandemic kind of shut it down a little bit, but we're starting to get our feet back together, and we're getting ready to put up a product that we think that everybody's going to want to be a part of. And these athletes for sure are going to want these because it kind of immortalize you forever because it sets you into a different type of frame and fixture that no one else can do. So it's pretty exciting.
OJ,
sorry being so long-winded.
No. That's fantastic. We appreciate you sharing that with us, and we'll put this up on a podcast. I'll send it to you as well. and you can, if you want to use it to promote what you're doing, that's great. You probably don't need that help, but thank you for your time. Great memories. Whitney Houston did it, right? And so did you in that same Super Bowl against Buffalo. Thanks for your time.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you for being patient with me, because I know we tried to do this a few times and it just didn't work out. But thanks for being persistent, and that's why you guys are good at what you do, because you know what, you don't back down, and that's great. So again, thank you for having me.
Otis Anderson, University of Miami Cardinals, 5 of the first 6 years, over 1,000 yards, and then 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, and now a very successful entrepreneur.
He has slightly less phone calls from me than Kurt Schilling did.
Coming up next, Grayson Grundhagford, latest on Baylor football recruiting. This is SicEm365 Radio. Ideal MRI, the title sponsor of SicEm365 Radio. Ideal MRI, where I went, it's been about a month or so, a little bit longer than that. Dr. Rob Maxey contacted me. He said, hey, we want you to come to our business. It's in the Central Texas marketplace, just between Bagby and 35, and we want you to go through the process. We would love for you to go through the process. And I was like, okay. He said, what hurts? And I was like, well, I'm 60. At the time I was 60. Everything at some point when you work out like I do. So I went there, and I had an MRI on my left shoulder that has really been damaged in a lot of ways since I was in high school. Back in the senior year, I was against a veer option. I went to go make a hit against the fullback, and my left shoulder just basically collapsed. Partially broken collarbone. Basically just put a larger set of shoulder pads on for the rest of the year because I didn't want to miss a game. Back then, I know this is ridiculous, but you spit on it. You had the neck pad, a shoulder roll, whatever, and that's it. And then I've been paying for it ever since with some tendonitis and pain. So I had the MRI. They showed the results. They sent them to me. I sent them to David Haynes at Southwest Sports Medicine, who had performed my rotator cuff surgery, back 2015. It's amazing. The technology is incredible. The health care that you pay now can be cut dramatically by using Ideal MRI when it comes to you needing an MRI. State-of-the-art technology. The specialists are fantastic, saving you sometimes thousands of dollars when it comes to MRIs. You can go online if you want to set up an appointment, idealmri.com. You can call them at 833-IDEAL-MRI. And again, it's 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
This is Waco, and this is Hoosers Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one, commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Brewer, throw over the middle, caught, Mims, touchdown, Sikkim Bears.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of SicEm365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Here we go with this 3 o'clock hour winding down with Grayson Grundhafer, SicEm365.com with us on SicEm365 Radio. Grayson, you were in Austin, is that correct, for a workout and saw a name or two that is very much on Baylor's radar?
Yeah, I did. I got to see a couple current names in the 2021 class, and then I also got to see a previous name from the 2022 class. And so I'll have an update on each, but Jahdae Barron was the 2020 prospect that I saw there. Jahdae, of course, was signed with Baylor, and then Coach Aranda let him out of his NLI, and he ended up signing with Texas. So he's going to be a Longhorn. But it was interesting talking with him just kind of about the transition, how he, kind of decided that. And then I also talked to him a little bit about his buddy Prinsley's decision when he ended up choosing Florida over Baylor and Texas. I also talked to a couple 2021 guys. Obviously, Devin Lemire is the most notable. He's the safety out of Manor. He's been kind of a guy that Baylor's really targeted, made a priority. He's a safety prospect, 6'1", about 185 pounds. And he was really, really impressive. So it was great to see him. I think the Baylor coaching staff has really, really done a nice job getting to know him and building a relationship with he and his family. I know his dad really has great things to say about Coach Aranda and, of course, Coach Pallage, who would be Devin's position coach. So those were a couple of the big names that I talked to and the guys that were squarely on Baylor's radar.
Well, Grayson, Baylor got a new commit this week. What can you tell us about the latest and number 15 for the class of 2021?
Yeah, so Dakota Doyle Robinson, obviously the Missouri connection somewhat continues as Baylor has a commit in 2021 and 2022 with Kyan Roberts-Day being the 2022 commit. So a little bit of a pipeline there, really interesting. Those two are fairly close as well. And so Doyle Robinson gives them some depth and some versatility up front on the defensive line. The state of Texas really hasn't done an amazing job producing many defensive tackles on a yearly basis outside of, the top 5 guys most years. So sometimes you have to go out of state to find the right guy for your program, and that's exactly what Baylor did in finding Doyle Robinson. And so he has a few good offers, Michigan State, Washington State. I think he's a guy that if he were able to play a senior season uncommitted, he probably would grow his offer list a little bit more. But it's a good pickup for Baylor. I think he fills a position of need, and anytime you can do that, it's a win.
The big lineman from Houston, what's the latest on the senior from Houston?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting one. So it's been about 2 weekends now that Jared Williams, the Houston grad transfer, has basically said that he was going to commit. So it's been 2 weekends in a row, and now we're on the third weekend, and you just wonder, when is this going to happen? And so nothing public has been made. I know all signs were pointing towards Miami, but I'm starting to think that there might be a little bit of, saving momentum for Baylor here. I'm not ready to say that, Baylor's the favorite. I still think that's Miami, but I think as we head into the weekend, keep an eye on that. I think Baylor could close really, really strong. Obviously, the connection with Joey McGuire, who was his high school coach at Cedar Hill, definitely makes a difference. And since it's taken a little bit longer, you almost wonder if he's maybe changed his mind a little bit. And who knows, maybe Baylor can sneak in.
I wonder about him because Miami is the other option. Is that right? And isn't De'Ara King is a former Houston teammate, and he's the quarterback there. And you wonder if he's being pulled in both directions.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Smokey. That's actually been a huge part of his recruitment. De'Ara King, obviously, is a fantastic player from Houston who decided to grad transfer to Miami. Really, really close with Jared, and that's kind of been, I think, the pull and the allure that's kind of gotten him to really focus on Miami a little bit. I also think he's very familiar with Rhett Lashley's offense, and of course, Rhett was at SMU last year. Now he's at Miami, and so he's seen his offense before, and I think Derek is trying to sell him on that as well. So we'll see. It's going to be a really, really tight race, and he's a big-time recruit. Both programs would be ecstatic to land him.
Are you surprised, and we'll wrap it up with this, we'll have Darren Roberts coming up next, motivational speaker with us on SicEm365 Radio. What Baylor's done during this pandemic, during this downtime, so to speak, and the players they're getting, the level of players they're getting, how we can discuss how. I think it's obvious, hard work. Are you surprised they've been able to get the commitments they've gotten and the kind of commitments they've gotten in such a short amount of time?
Honestly, I'm really not. And the reason that I'm not is because Baylor did such a good job. And really, I don't even know if you can say such a good job, or it just was almost luck that they had that junior day before the dead period happened, before coronavirus hit. And that really allowed them to get a head start on a lot of these kids in the 2021 class. And a lot of the guys that are in this class were there for the junior day. So that's been very helpful. But then on the other hand, they've been able to go out of state and land some guys. They've been able to land guys with great offer lists that maybe weren't at junior day. So it's kind of been a good mixture. But overall, I would say Baylor has taken advantage of this dead period. They've done a fantastic job building relationships, even without, being able to see these kids in person and through virtual tours, Zoom phone calls, things like that. They've really been able to build great relationships with the 2021 class. It's been very impressive. And for them to come out of this coronavirus dead period with the top 20 class, that would be fantastic.
Thank you, Grayson. Congratulations. Another great, I love the gray area, plus the podcast with Craig Smoke that goes up on SicEm365.com every single week. That's an hour plus of just Baylor green and gold and Sikkim Bear stuff. When we come back, Darren Roberts, a motivational speaker, went to Texas, played high school football at Mount Pleasant. He's very well renowned. When I was at the Connolly coaching staff earlier today meeting with Shane Anderson, I mentioned him, and I had about 5 or 6 coaches that shook their head. They've heard him speak. You'll hear him next on SicEm365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace, they're open now. Their doors are open. That happened on Monday. They had the drive-thru going Monday through Friday. Now their front doors are open, and I went by there a couple of different times this week because, quite frankly, I just love what they have. A butcher shop with all the seafood you'd want, pork and poultry, and, of course, beef, from as simple as the ground beef and hamburger to, of course, the custom-made, just mouth-watering steaks. Custom-made for how you want them. I love the bone-in ribeye, also the bacon-wrapped filet, and the bakery, which has fresh baked bread every single day. And, yes, if, in fact, you ordered by noon yesterday, live crawfish bags, 30-pound bags of live crawfish. If you order the live crawfish, 30-pound bags, by noon on Thursday, you can pick it up, and most of you did today, so you could enjoy the live crawfish and the crawfish boils coming up this weekend, including, if you want, they have red beet potatoes and corn cobettes and all the Louisiana boil seasoning that you would want, and 5 pounds of sausage if you want to throw that in the boil, mix the crawfish boil, which most of you do. Kolache, cinnamon rolls, bake bread every day is fresh. And the new hours, opening the doors Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6. And tomorrow, if you couldn't get by there this week, today, tomorrow, they're open from 10 until 5. 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Have you ever thought about how great it would feel a month or 6 months or a year from now if you weighed less and were in better shape and more fit than you are today? Think about that. Words can't explain the confidence I have because of what I've experienced and what I continue to experience every day at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. I promise if you join today, you'll thank me later. Offering a variety of different classes, over 40 of them every single week, including boot camp on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. And there's free daycare. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday 7 to 7. Contact personal trainers Christy London or Randall Corley and let them make you feel better about yourself. Also, world-class tennis facility with Pro Britt Coleman and Director of Adult Tennis and Special Events Joe Rosa. A spacious, clean, and sanitized workout room, no intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an all-new atmosphere that will make you love doing burpees. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
In great times or tough times, you always feel better working with someone who's there for you. When it comes to great banking, people here count on the First National Bank of Central Texas, here to help you, your family, and your business. Personal banking via phone, desktop, tablet, and drive-through, and business banking tailored for all situations, including yours. Amazing tomorrows from the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa draft, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Here's Elliott on 2nd and 4. First down and more. Stays upright. Touchdown, Elliott.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
I've known Darren Roberts for quite some time. When he was a high school football player at Mount Pleasant, he went to the University of Texas. and what he's done. He's also Harvard Law. He is the founding director of Center for Sports Leadership and Innovation. He's a powerful motivational speaker, and he joins us now on SicEm365 Radio. Darren, how you been, young man?
Doing well. I've been better, but doing well. Glad to be on the show.
Yeah, I know. It is an amazing, unique, difficult, and gut-wrenching time around the country. How do you see and how are you feeling about where we are right now?
Well, I think some things are very positive for me. One is that I've just been incredibly inspired by what I've seen from young people, in particular young student athletes who have really taken the lead and have tried to not only educate themselves but educate the people around them. And I think every generation that meets a challenge like this, it usually begins with the young folks. And I'm 41, so I don't count myself in that group. But those young people who are out there who are sort of spreading this message of acceptance and love, I really applaud them for what they're doing, and for so many other people who are really, to whether you're protesting or whether you're posting online or initiating conversations, those are all acts of courage, and it's been good to see that from people in this country.
While you said it's been good to see that, the positives are there. What's the next step for this now that people are becoming aware, and what do we do next?
Yeah, I've had this question quite a bit. I've had a lot of conversations this past week, and the one thing I've always said is, look, we're dealing with a 400-year-old problem, and I won't be the one to say that I have the solution for something that this country has not figured out for 4 centuries. But I think the building blocks of getting to where we want to go is that people need to recognize, come from a place of empathy. So, if I'm a Black American and I'm telling you that I have an experience that looks and smells and sounds like this, it may be difficult to hear, but I think having the courage to listen and put on your empathetic hat and say, listen, to yourself, say, hey, this does not match up with my own experience, but let me at least sort of give this person the respect to step inside of their shoes, if even from a mental standpoint. I think those are, that empathetic lens and active listening is really how we start. And I think there are a ton of, there are policy issues around policing, around education and criminal justice, and those are really more delicate and problematic issues. But I think it all begins with listening. And then I will say this, for people who are in the majority, we only get better if you take it a step farther and say, when I see or hear or think I detect issues of racism or bias, I'm going to have the courage to vocalize what I see, even if there are no Black people in the room, right? I think this changes when people within the majority start to almost call themselves out, and I think we can move towards a better place.
Darren, I saw the University of Texas football team. They were marching this week in Austin, and you're obviously surrounded by, well, not right now due to COVID, but typically thousands of students and hundreds of student athletes. What sense do you get from the young people? Because it's such a different time for kids growing up these days. They're entering adulthood, and this is all swirling around the disruption of school and protesting and all that. What's kind of the sense you get from young people right now?
Yeah, it's an interesting time because if you think about it, we are at the convergence of these two seismic events, right? COVID and then George Floyd. Not that George Floyd, he's unfortunately in a long list of men and women who died at the hands of cops. but this is a special moment. So you've got young people who are coming into their own during this time. And here's the thing, right? I tell people I graduated from Mount Pleasant High School in 1997. If I wanted to start a movement or spread a message, it was going to have to be word of mouth. I would have to use landlines. The young people of today have so much power at their disposal, just from a standpoint of social media. They can quickly organize, and I think that it's really, for me, I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I'm definitely okay with that. It's encouraging for me to see what I saw from the athletes at the University of Texas.
Well, and let's discuss that. Yesterday, they went arm in arm. They marched from the campus peacefully to the Capitol with police officers from Austin, Tom Herman and his players. Not everybody could do it because it's kind of the time where some still are not on campus. What kind of moment was that for UT football?
I think it was a big moment. I mean, if you think about the history, so obviously the University of Texas has a storied past when it comes to discrimination. The Darrell K. Royals last all-white national championship team, our slow moves to integrate, Heman Sweat. And so there's a history, a deep-seated racial history at the University of Texas that I think a lot of people forget about. I think that moment to me says a lot of things about a lot of people. One, I think I'll start with the student athletes. They could have easily resigned themselves to posting on social media and sort of retweeting and TikToking and Instagram living, but they decided to sort of put their feet behind their beliefs, and that means a lot. I think also at the end of that moment, so many of them doubled down on this is not going to be the end. So I think it would have been easy for them to say, okay, we've made our gesture. Now let's get ahead, go ahead and go on with the rest of the year. But these men seem very committed to channeling that experience and turning it into something more positive down the road. You got a head coach as well. I got to give a lot of credit to Coach Tom Herman. You look at what's happening at Florida State, where the team has effectively said, the players have said they're not going to work out until there's a resolution because there's distrust there for the head coach. That's not the case here. People can say what they will about Coach Herman, but for the head coach of the University of Texas, given the alumni base that we have, to make the heartfelt statements that he has made, I mean, this takes a lot of courage, and I give a lot of credit to him, and I don't care. I care much less about what the turnout of the season will be in terms of a win-loss record, but I think it says a lot about his courage and also his belief that as a coach, first and foremost, his job is to support the players in the best way that he can.
By the way, for those that don't know, Darren was all 4 years at high school, was the class president, Harvard Law. He's been a part of the President's Partnership, President's Leadership Scholars Program with George W. Bush and Bill Clinton. You have really taken the term student athlete and taken it and magnified it about as much as you possibly can, haven't you?
Listen, I always tell people I'm just the beneficiary of some really good coaches in high school. My head coach was Mark McDaniel. Defensive coordinator was Randy McFarland. I had a mom and dad. My mom was an elementary school principal for 30 years. My dad, Baptist minister and a scientist there in Mount Pleasant. I mean, I am extremely blessed to have had a support network unlike any other. And I think one thing that came for me out of that experience was this confidence to speak my truth. And as a professor at the university or a lecturer at the University of Texas, and I teach a class to all of our freshman athletes every year, one of the things that I am very adamant about telling them is that if you look at the college programs in the state of Texas, and this is really nationwide, athletic departments are funded overwhelmingly by two sports, men's basketball and football.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the case at Texas. That's the case at Texas, across the board. And so with that economic power, I also believe comes a responsibility to take that leverage and to use it the right way.
What is the most common mistake that you see the freshman athletes making when you're this class you're teaching? I mean, that's something that I know a lot of schools don't have, is making sure that their freshman athletes take a class like that.
Yeah, I think, and this may be a tough point of transition that all freshmen face. I think, especially if you're an FBS student athlete, transitioning from, and I don't care what high school you went to, whether it's, Westlake or Winsboro, there is a big transition from high school to college. And the expectation magnifies 10, 20, 30x, right? And I don't care if you're from a big, from the Allen or the big 5A powerhouses, when you go from your high school to a place like the University of Texas, it can be overwhelming, whether you're from a big city or a small town. And so I think just adjusting to the expectation that's placed on you is something that, I've had guys like Malik Jefferson in 2015, Charles Omenahu, who I had on Instagram Live today. He was also there in 2015. And they will all tell you that the hardest part is just feeling up to the challenge of playing for a place like the University of Texas. But, I got to give a lot of credit to people like Coach Tom Herman and his support staff. I mean, they've done an incredible job of helping those student athletes transition in the best way that they can.
You just mentioned Omenahu, and I've seen a couple of things that he has said, and I want to go over a couple of the posts you've made. One here that really got me, this was like 9 hours ago. I'm 41, and I talk to my dad almost every morning. My day is better because I talk to him. Robin Gianna of That Right is what keeps me up at night. # George Floyd.
Yeah. I wasn't really prepared to have the kind of response that I've had to this George Floyd incident. But I forced myself to watch that 8-minute and 46-second span of video. And I got to tell you, David, every night since I watched that, I can't help but see my oldest son, his neck under that cop's knee. And that's the pain I'm feeling from afar. And so every time I see a picture or a video of Gianna, I just think about how racism robs all of us of relationships that are life-altering. And so my wife and I have 5 kids. I've got 3 boys and 2 girls. And the thing that I fear for them the most is that we don't raise them with the right level of awareness to function in America. Look, my parents are from Carthage, Texas, and, I'm a 5th-generation East Texan. My grandmother used to always say that you can be dead and right at the same time. And I think what's the most frightening thing is that deep inside of me, even when I coach my son on how to have his hands at 10 and 2 if the cops pull him over, and how to signal verbally that he's going to reach into his glove compartment to get his insurance card, there is a feeling way down deep inside of me that says he could do all the right things and still not make it back home. And that's troubling for me. And that's frankly what keeps me up at night.
Deontay Epps is kind of a guy that works for us. He's taken the week off because of the events, and he just told us, I need to go decompress. He went down to Killeen to see his parents, and that's what he talked to us about on Friday of last week. Remember that, Craig? He said that's the one thing he has to talk about with his children is and how to handle the fear of that as well. I have never been more proud. I've known you for a long time, what you were able to do to get into the NFL, to be a coach, and then figure out what else you wanted to do. I know Mount Pleasant High School. I know UT, Harvard, a lot of places. So proud of what you do and what you represent. Do not stop being who you are and representing what you do.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate you giving a forum to these sorts of issues. I think it could be easy in a time like this to just talk ball and just talk sports. But as we know, life and sports are interconnected. So from a fifth generation East Texan who appreciates what you do, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no, we had Tommy Harris, Roy Williams. We had Roy Miller. We're about to have Trent Shelton, who's got a show, Facebook message he popped up last night. And then also at 5:30, Santana Dotson, who went to Yates High School, George Floyd's alma mater, didn't go to school with him, but remembers meeting him one time when he went back to school to discuss some things with the Yates football team. So we're trying to at least have platforms available as much as we possibly can, and having you a part of that makes for a hell of a week. We appreciate you, Darren.
I'm honored. Thank you so much.
He when he returned to Harvard, he wrote 164 letters seeking an internship to just find a way. To the head coach, defensive coordinator of every NFL franchise, 50 FBS teams, and received an offer to serve as a training camp intern with the Kansas City Chiefs. Herm Edwards. And then hired him as a defensive quality control assistant in 2008. That's Darren Roberts with us. And again, he's the founding director
of sports leadership at the University of Texas.
Yes. Yeah. Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, I'm David Smoke. Former Baylor wide receiver Trent Shelton is next.
Buick Encore is the perfect crossover SUV with a quiet ride, roomy interior, and they are packed with safety features and the latest technology. Right now, all 2020 Buick Encores are in stock. 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers, plus $1,250 in savings, or save $6,000 and drive off in a Buick Encore for only $19,900. 0% for 84 months also continues at Richard Carr. The 2020 GMC line of Yukons, Acadias, Terrains, Canyons, Sierras, and the lineup of Buick SUVs are all 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers. Richard Carr Motors is overloaded with used cars and trucks, over 100 in stock. They want to get those off their lot. They have over 30 used trucks in stock, all at low inventory, overload prices. Great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service all comes with your purchase at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr Motors are the people that you can count on, a local family dealer run by Baylor Bear alumni that wants the chance to earn your business. So stop by the Daily Disinfected showroom, see their safety-focused staff, or they can bring the test drive to your home. Your comfort and safety is Richard Carr's first priority. So find them at richardcarr.com or Highway 6, the Imperial exit.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodward. PettyClinicLowT.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. And order 30-pound bags of live crawfish by noon on Thursday and pick up on Friday to enjoy the weekend. Live crawfish available right now. And Waco Custom Marketplace doors are open for business Monday through Friday from 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5. And crawfish boil boxes available as well. Make your order for live crawfish by noon on Thursday, pick up on Friday for the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh kolaches, cinnamon rolls, and baked bread daily. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, and house-cured and smoked bacon. Spices, seasonings, soup mixes, charcoal, and lighter fluid. Waco Custom Marketplace, doors open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5, 425 Lake Air Drive or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, here we go. 4:30 coming up at 4:45. SMU quarterback Shane Buechele, who's the cover boy, one of them for Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. NFL Pro Football Hall of Famer Mike Haynes at 5, and Santana Dotson at 5:30. We're now joined by former Baylor wide receiver Trent Shelton, NFL, of course, with the Colts, Seahawks, Redskins, and he joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Trent, you are making a difference. I've seen a couple of your videos. Your passion right now. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. You know, it's a tough time in the world with everything going on. I mean, it's just 2020 has just hit us hard, but you know, this is a time where, you know, I would say tragedy can either separate us or bring us together. So as leaders, you know, this time where we step up. So I'm ready to step up to the plate and do what I can do.
You have videos. I know Mondays at 8 o'clock Central, also a live chat, or maybe it's on live, a Facebook Live at 8 o'clock on Wednesdays. When did all this start?
Man, this started back in 2009. It really got really real for me when former Baylor, one of my teammates and roommates, Anthony Arline, you know, rest in peace to Anthony. You know, it was my promise to him in 2011 that, you know, I would dedicate my life to helping people because of his suicide. So it started really getting real in 2011.
Trent, you can go on your YouTube channel. I fell into a little bit of a YouTube hole today just watching some of your stuff and really got behind. So thanks for that. But it was all great stuff. With the issue that we're facing right now, and we've had a lot of people on the show, and the message is pretty much the same. Listen, move forward, like do positive things. What do you think is the best way for someone who is kind of seeing all this almost or noticing it for the first time, and they want to know what they can do now that their eyes have finally been opened?
You have to feel it, and the way you feel it is empathy. You know, if you were the one to go help the homeless, you would go out there and try to feel how the homeless feels. If you want to go help, a football player, you want to put yourself in their shoes. And so right now, it's about putting yourself in someone's shoes as best as you can. I think the question that you have to ask yourself, and I ask myself, if that was me, if that was someone that I love right now, like what would I want from people? And so that's always the truth for me. And I think it's about standing in that. And then from there, it's just about educating yourself, really having conversations, maybe with a different race, or conversations about, challenging yourself to educate yourself on things that you don't know. Because I've said this quote before, and this is something I told myself: if you can't see yourself contributing to the problem, you'll never realize the power you have to contribute to the solution. So I even tell myself, how am I contributing to this, and how can I be a part of the solution now?
Trent, what has some of the feedback typically been, from people out there listening, thoughts? I'm sure people very emotional right now, just emotions running wild for everyone. And what's been, sort of the feedback here as of late?
Yeah, man. I mean, my inbox is full. I mean, you have people that's angry. You have people that's frustrated, people that's scared, people that are confused. So I think the overall sense is unity. I see people coming together, people asking questions. How can I stand up for you? And I think that's what we need in this world. We need to be able to stand up for, what's right, even if it makes us look wrong, even if it makes us look uncomfortable. Really becoming selfless, because selfishness doesn't create togetherness. So I'm seeing a lot of selfless people saying, like, I'm willing to risk whatever to bring this world together. So that's what hopefully we can fight for and bring.
Last night, before you started talking with your video, and I believe that was the one on Facebook Live, before you started talking, I had just finished working out. I was just kind of relaxing a little bit for a second, sitting at my desk where I live, and you took a while before you started talking. Was that to gather your thoughts, to just, and a lot of great speakers do that. You take deep breaths. What was that moment like as you were about to talk?
Yeah, it was really just gathering my thoughts and really, just trying to feel my emotions, because it's such, I'll just say this, as being a professional speaker for the last, decade, right now, it's probably been the hardest time for me to articulate things, because it's just so much. It is so deep. And so that was me just resetting and saying, look, follow your heart, speak from your heart. I know my heart. I'm never going to do anything to separate people. And so it was just really me setting myself up to really impact as best as I could.
So you saw the Drew Brees story this week with what happened a couple of days ago during an interview, and then the backlash. And he came out yesterday morning with his apology. I've seen, he was skewered. And for a lot of people, most people believe he absolutely missed the boat 2 days ago. What are your thoughts about when someone makes a mistake, doesn't perhaps get it, tries to then learn? How do we help them?
Yeah, again, you have to have empathy for everybody, right? We all make mistakes. And I guess the question is, some of us, well, he should have known better. Maybe that's true, but we don't know, what's in his mind or in his heart. I judge a man by his past actions. And so what I've seen from Drew over the past is helping people. But it's times when you have to be held accountable. And so he responded, he put out an apology. And I can understand people, too, in this space, because now we live in a social media world where you can say something and then, okay, let me send out an apology. So you can't judge a man's heart and his intentions. You just have to really accept it and give the same grace that you would expect. And I think that's where we just need to be as a society, and letting this be an example of being conscious, before you speak or before an interview, and understand even if you may be right in your way, if it's contributing to separating people in the climate of the world, you kind of got to, put your pride aside and just say, you know what, let me just give even a political correct answer so I don't cause any type of division.
One of the things I think is pretty important, Trent, is that we kind of have to let people walk. I mean, maybe want to walk a little faster, but if they're willing to change, we have to let them walk at their own pace, don't we?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, again, we live in a social media world where anything that you do right now, somebody's going to have an opinion about it, right? Somebody's not going to agree with it. They say if you post online, they're going to say, well, you're not doing enough. Or if you donate, they're going to say, oh, you're just donating. So you have to do what's pure in your heart and understand that you're not going to please everybody. And you just have to know that your intentions are good and you're contributing to change. Even with people with me, I have people tell me that, you're not doing enough or you're not doing this, but I know my heart and I know what I'm doing. And I know that I'm contributing to the greater good at the end of the day.
Your football career at Baylor, obviously everyone knows Trent Shelton, the impact you had, and then the NFL as well. You're doing this right now with the culture in America and what is today's America. Well, reflect back on your career and what you've seen from Baylor as they went from the height of the Big 12 and then they went through the dark times of the Pepper Hamilton investigation and how they've bounced back as a program, and now they have the Dave Aranda era that's trying to begin.
Yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing to watch. It's beautiful to see. You wear Baylor football now, or even talking to kids. I coach kids, and back in the day, it wasn't too many people saying they wanted to go to Baylor. Now all these kids are saying they want to go. You're seeing the support now when you drive around, and I would say when I was playing, if somebody wore some Baylor stuff, it's because they went there. Now people are wearing Baylor things because they're actually fans of the school. So I think it's beautiful. And I just hope that, and I know the new coach will continue to grow the culture, and I'm all on board for it.
What's your favorite moment at Baylor? What was your? May not even be athletics. It might have been something else. What was the moment you remember the most?
So I have a personal moment that's my scoring against Texas, because it's the whole first play of the game and down in DC, and that was a whole ordeal because just how that worked out was just super funny. I don't have time to tell the story. And then my next one had to be A&M. I mean, beating them in double overtime, that was just incredible, an incredible night. I mean, Ziggy went off, and it was just, that's something that, I'll cherish to, my end days.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I wondered if you would say that one, Trent. That was.
Yeah.
Yeah, the touchdown against Texas, how far was that?
That was 67 yards. And it's funny because that whole week, the play didn't work. The whole week, the play did not work. And we just knew it wasn't going to work. And it worked. and so, 67 yards. And, I was showing my son Tristan the play the other day, and I was just telling him, like, how you got to visualize. Because Coach Jackson was like, visualize. I was like, it's hard because it hasn't worked the whole week. And it worked. So.
Yep, we're watching a replay right now. Perfect throw, great play action, touchdown, 6-0. Sean Bell, who's now a part of the staff at Baylor, throws the perfect throw. Yep. Trent, thanks for your time. We appreciate it very much. That's former Baylor wide receiver Trent Shelton with us on SicEm365 Radio. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, an entirely new atmosphere and environment. It's always been a great place to work out. It's always been a fantastic place to change your life, like it did with mine 7 years ago when I weighed 282 pounds, and now constantly at the 190 or less. 9 miles I ran Wednesday, 4 this morning. Trainer Christy London. It's constant, it's a commitment, it's discipline. And if you've ever been trained by her, you would know that as well. Randall Corley, personal trainer. And now they have free daycare. And the locker rooms are now open for the first time since the shutdown for you to work out and then get dressed, shower, get dressed, and go to work. That now is back. They have 40-plus different group exercise classes, 40-plus boot camps on Tuesday and Thursday, and the tennis facilities are as good as anybody else in the state of Texas. And they have adult tennis leagues at night, and Britt Coleman, the pro, Joe Rosa, they're running that. It's Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Drive forward at Allen Samuels. Get big summertime values on new Jeeps, the vehicles of summer. Now get 0% for 72 months and no payments for 90 days on select Jeep models. Plus, the all-new Jeep Gladiator now features employee pricing for all. Shop safely in person or shop and buy online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com. Now, more than ever, your friend in the car business. Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of health care has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
They just get the play off. Bouchel, open man! He's got Prochet! And the Mustangs strike first on the road.
The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Shane Bouchel, SMU quarterback, will join us momentarily. Earlier today, we had Greg Tepper, Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. He was on with us and discussed the decision. Pony up, Shane Bouchel. First time since 1983 that SMU's been featured on the cover of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. They also have as well the 100th year of Texas high school football. And we'll have Shane here momentarily. Also, Mike Haynes, Pro Football Hall of Famer, will join us at 5 and 5:30. Former Baylor defensive end, Packers and Buccaneers defensive end Santana Dotson, who went to Yates High School. Shane Buechele, SMU quarterback, joins us on SicEm365 Radio with Paul Craig, and I'm David Smoke. Shane, thank you very much for being a part of the show. When you knew you were going to be a cover boy, but when you found out before you knew that, what was it like when you first found out?
No, man. Well, first, thanks for having me. And, I was super excited about it. It's a great opportunity for me. And, it's a great thing for our school. It's a great thing for SMU as well. So I was super excited about it.
So how many family members do you have to get large prints for now?
Oh, man, I haven't given them the total number yet of how many magazines I'll need, but I got a lot of family members. So they've been asking, and hopefully I'll be able to get them to them.
Shane, what's this last year been like for you? The time at SMU, the success that you guys had, the special run, being the cover boy, Dave Campbell's Texas football, just seems like things are going really well on the hilltop right now. And just how fun has this last year been for you?
Yeah, it's been a great opportunity for me, and I've had a lot of fun just playing football again. And SMU brought me in, and my teammates brought me in really well, and brought me in just like I was a normal teammate, like I've been there for 4 years. So I'm thankful for my teammates. I'm thankful for my coaches, and it's been a lot of fun so far.
To have someone like Sonny Dykes who's inventing and making up, and I don't mean that in a flippant way, but with what he does with quarterbacks in an offense, when you first met him and then you got in a room with him, what was that like?
Yeah, Coach Dykes is a great coach, but he's an even better mentor, I think. What he does well is he keeps the game very simple, but he knows a lot about the quarterback position. So I've been thankful to be around him, and he's taught me a ton so far, just about playing quarterback, but also about leadership, and also just about being a better man as well.
When you step into a new program, there's always nervousness and trepidation. Did you have any of that, or was it just magic right away?
You know what? I was a little nervous at first, and I got there June 1st around there for summer workouts. So, what I did is I just put my head down and went to work, and I tried to let my workout and my work ethic kind of pave the way for me. And then once I started getting around the guys and started building relationships, it was like everything was normal, and like I'd been there for a couple of years. So, like I said, I'm thankful for my teammates and thankful for the way they brought me in.
How much soreness does an arm get when you've thrown the ball 490 times in a season when you hadn't thrown it anywhere nearly 490 times in a season in a few years?
It doesn't get sore, but you definitely have to work it out, and you have to train it that way in order to be prepared for a long season like that. So, our quarterback coach, our trainers, our strength staff does a good job of making sure we're prepared for that workload. And, if it were up to me, I'd throw it 700, but I guess 490 will work.
Yeah, 34 touchdowns out of that and a whole lot of yards as well, nearly 4,000 yards last year for you. The Sonny Dykes offense, how complimentary is it of the quarterback, and how much is that offense, I'm trying to find the right words, but how easy is it to kind of operate in that offense, if at all?
Yeah, I think it is a quarterback-friendly offense, but there's a lot of different things that you have to know about it. And once you get the hang of it, it's easy to run. And I like playing fast, and so that's what I like about the offense. But I've been surrounded by really, really good players this last year, and I'll be surrounded by a lot more good players this year. So, I'm just excited about the season, and this offense is great for me, and it's great for our offense.
First time since 1983, there was a quarterback named Lance McElhaney, Highland Park. He was an incredible winner at SMU during those days when they started to make a huge difference in the Southwest Conference. Have you met him?
I have, yeah. He's been to a couple practices before, and it was great being able to kind of talk his ear off and get to talk to him a little bit.
So nearly 40 years later, SMU's back on the cover. Do you even understand the impact and how big this is for SMU football?
For me personally, I don't. I've heard a lot of good things, and I've heard, how this last season has been big for our program. And, since I haven't been here the last couple years, I can't really see it. But, I just know how excited people are around us. And it makes me excited to be a part of it.
Shane Buechele, cover boy for Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, with us on SicEm365 Radio.
Just to put it in perspective, his dad was still in the minor leagues when there was a cover boy.
That's true.
Yeah. But by the way, I've been going through all my baseball cards from the 90s, and I do think that I could wallpaper part of this room with some of your dads. I have so many. But you grew up you've grown up in a sports family. I mean, everybody's an athlete. What's that like around the dinner table when your guys are hanging out? I would imagine that there's not anybody in your family who's not hyper competitive.
Right. That's just growing up. We were always playing with some type of ball, always just doing something. And, I think that's kind of made me into the player I am today. And, I'm thankful for the way that we were brought up, and just being in a baseball background. And then, I have two older brothers that, I always wanted to play with them. And so I was always playing with the older guys, and they kind of toughened me up. So maybe that's why I chose football, because I was always kind of being roughed around a little bit whenever I was young.
Shane, we cover Baylor more often than not. That's the main thing that we do, but we talk all sports, and that's why we're talking to you as well. But a connection that's there is former strength and conditioning coach Kaz Kazadi's at SMU, has been for a little while now. And Baylor players that were under him have raved about him for the last several years. As many guys as I've talked to, they rave about Kaz. What's your experience with him, and how much of an impact has he had on the program?
Oh, man, Coach Kaz is great. I love him as a coach, and I love him as a person as well. He teaches us more than just how to lift weights, but, as a coach, he's unbelievable. He brings so much energy to us, and, he's so knowledgeable, and, he really focuses on the player and the specific player and position. So, I've been super thankful for Coach Kaz and his whole strength staff that he's put together, because really, this last season was my first season that I've really been fully healthy and felt great all the way through. And so, I give a lot of respect, and I give a lot of that to Coach Kaz and his strength staff.
How much of the mentality that they instill in you guys is why you guys had success last year, that belief, that confidence, no matter what others might be saying?
Yeah, it's a lot of mental work as well. And, basically from summer one, from June 1st up until August 1st, basically Coach Kaz and his staff are like our coaches. So, just being around those guys, them working on our mental side and also working on our physical bodies, they do an unbelievable job.
Shane Buechele is our guest, SMU quarterback, Dave Campbell's cover boy, and you started something. We're seeing now college athletes, and it doesn't have to be college athletes, with what's going on in today's America. Young people are stepping forward and being heard more than ever before, but NCAA athletes are becoming much more vocal and also doing things to give back. You started the COVID-19, the pandemic GoFundMe page. How did and obviously it worked out because you delivered a big fat check to the Dallas mayor. When did all that come into your mind, and were you blown away by the reaction, how quickly you were able to reach the goal you wanted?
Yeah, it was a great opportunity for me and my girlfriend Paige to just try to make a difference, and that's all we wanted to do. We saw a lot of people struggling, a lot of people lose their jobs, and luckily Paige, she works for the Dallas Mavericks, and she's been lucky enough to be under a great organization, and she still has a job. And then obviously I don't work, but I'm a college football athlete. So with our platforms that we have, we just thought we could make a change and make a difference. And so we started that GoFundMe, and we were a little bit nervous at first. We didn't know what to make the number to have the goal at. We thought about $20,000, but then we ended up making it $50,000. And thankfully with a lot of generous people, we were able to make it to that number. So we're super thankful for it.
Shane, last year you were a finalist for the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award. I do some work with them. My mother does some work with them as well. And J.K. Dobbins ended up winning. You were a finalist, but hey, you got another chance at it this year. I just wanted to say that from all indications, everybody had a lot of positive things. And what's that mean to you when you get that award consideration and a guy like an Earl Campbell, is sitting there and acknowledging, the type of year you've had?
Yeah, that was an awesome banquet that we went to, and I was thankful to be able to be one of the finalists, to be able to go to it, and luckily I have one more year, and hopefully I'll be able to have a great season this upcoming year to be able to win it. But I was able to be around Earl a little bit whenever I was down in Texas. I was able to talk to him a little bit down there, and he'd come to a couple practices. And, it was just good to see his family again and be around them. They're a great family, and they do a lot of good things. So, I was thankful to be up there.
Shane, thank you very much. Also, thanks to Lindsey Olsen for helping set this up. Congratulations on being the cover boy. That's there forever. And good luck your senior year. Stay safe. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Shane Buechele. Think about of all the history of Texas at every level. And that magazine's mainly as much core high school and college as it is. And you'll have the pro section and a few other things. And to be a cover boy. And I think I got every Texas football magazine that goes back to perhaps the 70s, but not when it first started with the great Dave Campbell. And he's on the cover. And there's been some incredible athletes and players and personalities that never were.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can only have one or, a handful on there every year. They can get away with the double cover sometimes, but that's not really the same as having the main cover, I think. I think having the main cover is the goal. And the flip out's cool too. But the main cover that people see on the newsstands, that's what you want and what a lot of kids dream about. And so, yeah, he's getting to live that dream. And SMU's really good. I think Kaz has a lot to do with it. I don't think anybody's surprised by that. I think the offense they run has a lot to do with it. They got to get better defensively. And, they kind of cratered toward the end of the season. They were a great story. They are able to, basically undefeated through 3/4 of the season and then, ultimately drop, 3 of their last 4, 3 of their last 5. But they'll be very good this year.
Coming up next, he's a Hall of Famer, Mike Haynes. His thoughts about many things NFL in today's America. And at 5:30, former Baylor All-American Santana Dotson.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
What are you supposed to do when you pull up behind a truck that doesn't even have a hitch? I mean, it's like looking at plumber's crack. Do you cover your kids' eyes, look away, and switch radio stations? Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, asking for your help to end this embarrassing form of truck nudity. If you have a truck, at some point you need to pull something. It could be a trailer to haul stuff off to the dump, maybe a jet ski, a boat, an RV, a horse trailer, even just a bike rack. The point is, put a hitch on your truck's backside. And at Pickup Outfitters, we actually install more hitches than anything else. Whether it's a receiver hitch, a gooseneck, or a fifth wheel, we'll cover your aspirations to not drive a nude truck. And all hitches are covered by the Pickup Outfitters Lifetime Installation Guarantee. So cover your rear end with a new hitch from Pickup Outfitters on Lake Erie Drive in Waco, where we're fighting to end truck nudity in Central Texas. Check them out on our website at createacommotion.com/hitches.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's Group Meal.
Next in line.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
This guy wasted no motion, nothing. Probably the most efficient player mechanically that I've ever watched. To me, he's the standard by which all corners are measured.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
That Matt Millen that we were
Yes,
hearing
it
from?
was.
Matt Millen, who joined us a week ago today, former Raiders, 49ers, and Redskins linebacker. And then also, as well, we had Van McElroy on Wednesday, great from Baylor, and also Raiders safety. And both of them could not say enough about Mike Haynes and what he did, and obviously the career that he had. Mike Haynes, who played high school football in Los Angeles, played at Arizona State, was a first-round pick, 5th pick overall of the 1976 draft, played with the Patriots and split his career with the Patriots and also with the Los Angeles Raiders. Super Bowl champion, 9-time Pro Bowler, All-Pro 8 times, and on, 75th anniversary team, 100th anniversary team, all-decade team, Pro Football Hall of Famer. We've had him on at the Super Bowl before, and Mike Haynes joins us on SicEm365 Radio. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, Mike, and thank you very, very much for being a part of the show. There was a golf tournament one year when they were introducing Tiger and Phil Mickelson at the start of a tournament to start the first shot, and they went over Mickelson, and then they went over Tiger, and Mickelson interrupts it okay. That's kind of like introducing you, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know, but I do know what you mean.
Yeah, it's great. Now, there's so many things to get to, and I want to make is your son Rex a Division I talent in high school, and he's getting attention? Is that right?
Yeah. He's definitely Division I material. He's 6'4".
Wow.
203 pounds. He's just 16. He runs about a 4.6 40, 4.5, 4.6 40, and just getting stronger. And his older brother is at Boston College. He's home now because of the pandemic. They're working out together, lifting weights and running, and he's getting bigger, faster, stronger.
We had Van McElroy on Wednesday, Matt Millen again a week ago today, and Van McElroy, who could play, as you know, said that you were the prettiest cornerback in the history of the NFL. And he meant everything, but also meant just your body size. You talk about Rex, your son, that you had the height, the size, and the speed.
Well, I was really blessed. It's crazy because somebody 6'3", I think a lot of times you don't think of those guys as defensive backs. You think of them as wide receivers or some other position. And I ended up being a defensive back against my will, not something I really wanted to be. I wanted to be a wide receiver. When I think back on it, it's really crazy. I started college as a wide receiver, and because my freshman year was the first year that freshmen could play on the varsity, the freshmen didn't get to go to training camp with the varsity players. And when they came back from camp, we were dummies for them, holding the dummies and running the routes for them and catching passes when they knew what we're going to do and all that stuff. But then they started having injuries on the varsity, and they moved a few of us up to the varsity. And I was one of those guys that got moved up, and I ended up starting before the end of the season. So I started at free safety. And so then the next year, everybody's thinking I'm going to want to be a great defensive back. I go, no, dude, I came here to be a wide receiver. I want to be a receiver. Yeah, he goes, but you started as a freshman. I go, I was just helping out, man. I want to be a receiver. And didn't look like I was going to get my wish. And so I was making plans to leave the school. And they found out about it and they said, what's going on? I said, you guys want me to be a DB. I want to be a receiver. They said, well, just come on back. We'll work this out. Well, the quarterback that I had was Danny White, who is still the most accurate quarterback in ASU's history, and I think maybe even the Cowboy history. And so I came back, and sure enough, I came back and they tricked me, and they, and put me in the secondary again because they had a bunch of kids that we thought were coming back, but they didn't come back. I don't know if their grades were bad or whatever, but they didn't come back. So we were short and needed help in the secondary. They said, okay, Mike, we need your help just this one last year. And instead of playing safety, we want you to play corner. So I play corner, and now I make all conference as a sophomore, and they still thought I wanted to be a defensive back now. I mean, they thought I wanted to be a defensive back now, but I still wanted to be a wide receiver. And so most of my college career, I got all these honors, but I was like, I wasn't something I really wanted to do. I wish I could tell people I always dreamed of covering these guys. I dreamed of catching touchdowns and things like that. But in the end, the coaches had it right. I didn't know myself very well. And we had a wide receiver, and I have to give him probably just as much credit as I give the coaches for moving the defensive back. We had a wide receiver named John Jefferson, and he was from Dallas, Texas. And Coach Cush used to say, this guy could go right from high school straight to pro football. I've never seen a kid like him. I'm going, oh, he's just saying that because he thinks I should stay a defensive back and doesn't want me to move the receiver. He's just saying that. Well, when I saw the guy and I saw what he could do, I realized I don't know if I've ever seen a receiver as great as this guy. And so I ran routes with him, and I realized, man, when he catches the ball, you can't even hear it hit his hands, and he was just really gifted. And so I said, well, I guess if I'm going to be a defensive back, I'm going to be lucky to have guys like him working against him, every day until I go to the pros, or if I'm fortunate enough to go to the pros. So I didn't want to be a defensive back, but it turned out to be a blessing in disguise for me.
He was a great receiver with the Chargers and had a great career, as you mentioned. Paul?
Mike, the 83 team that you guys had, when people talk about some of the great defenses, always the 85 Bears or 2000 Ravens, do you guys kind of get lost in the shuffle there because of, maybe recency bias or something like that? Because you guys were legit, maybe 11 positions across the board.
Yeah, I actually would put that defense up against any defense. And I don't know if you remember this, but I think after the Bears went to the Super Bowl and beat the Patriots, I think we played the Bears in Chicago the next season. And, man, they knocked out our quarterback. We knocked out their quarterback. I mean, Ray Guy ended up being our quarterback by the time the game had ended. Fortunately, Mark Wilson was able to come back, but he couldn't throw. He was just handing the ball up to Marcus Allen. But, yeah, those were two of the greatest defenses, I think, in NFL history as far as I'm concerned. But it was a lot of fun to play on defenses, when you have a defensive team like that, and the coaches can call almost anything they want, and they don't have to have any fear. That's got to be a nice feeling for a coach.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Mike, this question's not so much who's the best receiver that you went up against, but who was the guy you went against that you had the most fun, the most competitiveness, that you always knew it was going to be a fun game and a challenging game?
Well, to be honest, I felt like that every week. I look forward to it, and I think that was one of the things that helped me. I have two kids, as we talked about earlier, that are playing football, and I try to tell them that all the time. I said, you can't start a game or a practice week thinking, oh, this guy's sorry, or this guy's hard, or this guy's great, or whatever. I said, it's never about the other guy. It's always about you being your best you, no matter who's there. And let's not put some on a pedestal and others not. They all have their things that they like to do and all that, and you just got to be your best. And so
I think that really helped me. And if I had a good game against a guy or a bad game against a guy, he was getting my best. He's getting the best that I could bring that day.
That was that the team that you had, and you guys had played Washington, and Matt's mentioned this, and Van McElroy, and even Tom Flores. You played them in a preseason game, and then I think you played them again in a shootout where Joe Washington caught a game-winning touchdown. When you knew it was them, you knew how good they were, and you guys were loaded as well. Did you have confidence because of, even though you had lost earlier, that you played that game without some of your better players?
Well, I didn't play in that game that they lost, and neither did Marcus Allen. And I think both of us playing in the Super Bowl, we were really lucky to be healthy. And I think those are, two difference makers. One, the defense was a lot better, and our offense was a lot better. So, it's not that hard really to figure out, because they were defending, the Redskins were defending champions from the Super Bowl. They felt pretty confident that they were going to win another one, and you could see it in their body language on the field before the game. They weren't intimidated by the Raiders. They'd already beaten them earlier in the year. I think it was a Monday night game or something, and that really helped me play at a high level. That just to see how confident those guys seemed, and they had every reason to be as confident as they were. But that helped our defense.
Did your secondary, particularly you and Lester Hayes at the cornerbacks, did you guys work so well together because you had, even though you had similarities, there were some differences, so people kind of had to decide which dangerous thing that they were going to do?
Well, I think that if Lester was able to, he was still using SicEm, he would have been the greatest cornerback that anybody had ever heard of. He was just unbelievable. He challenged every receiver. I didn't challenge guys. I wanted to just stay asleep. Like, hey man, how you doing? How's your family? Oh, good. But Lester's like, you ain't gonna catch a ball. He's just really going after him. And I like to keep him asleep. He really wanted to have a great contest, and we did a lot of times at Super Bowl and so many other games. I can't even tell you how many times. We would shut out some great quarterbacks and great receivers and guys who had records of catching a pass in every game and shutting them out and, things like that. It's just so much fun. And, I'm glad that we were voted or I think we were voted. I'm not really sure how it was determined, the best tandem in NFL history, because I feel like he's for my career, when I left the Patriots and joined the Raiders, it was in my 8th year, and I couldn't believe that I could still get better. And only reason I was able to still get better, I had two things. I had Willie Brown as a coach, a position coach, and I had Lester Hayes as a teammate. And so when we would sit down and look at film, even though I'd made more Pro Bowls and all that stuff, I actually learned more from him because he started playing football as a youth. I started playing football in the 10th grade. He actually knew a lot more about the game than I did. And, when you're fortunate enough to have a guy who's willing to share that kind of information to help you get better, because that's what I did too. I always shared the information to help other guys on my team get better. And I was lucky to have him as a teammate because I learned an awful lot about where the ball is on the field. As an example, when I played bump and run, I always took away the inside. I didn't care where the ball was. And then one day he came in, he said, when we were watching film, he said, why do you always line up inside anyway? I said, well, because that's the way the defense is called. He goes, yeah, but the guy's got the whole outside of the field to run a corner route or something. He said, wouldn't it be easier if you just took away the outside? And went, that's interesting. I wonder why I always take away the inside. So I changed it. And I said, wow, I can't believe how easy it is now. And after all these years, no coach ever said a word, and it came from Lester. So God bless him. I'm glad he came into my life at that time.
Mike, you've accomplished so much in your career. A lot of people grow up and they want to be Super Bowl champions. They want to be this or they want to be that, but you won a Super Bowl. You were in the Pro Bowl multiple times, Defensive Player of the Year, all the anniversary teams, Rookie of the Year, all decade, all of that, number retired, Patriots Hall of Fame. Is there anything that you didn't get to check off, like the dream list there? And, obviously just I would imagine you've got to feel so blessed when you look back on all that you were able to accomplish.
Well, I feel really, really blessed. One, I realized at a young age that it's not about me. It's really about my teammates. It's about the coaches. It's about sharing what I know and other guys on the team sharing what they know. And the only way we're going to be great is to desire to be a great team, a great defensive and offensive team. And, I achieved everything I possibly could. Whatever I was meant to achieve, I believe I achieved it. And but I didn't do it by myself. So, I mean, I'm not patting myself on the back. I feel blessed that I was in an environment where I was continually learning. And, even in my last few years that I played, because I was trying to get the coaches to put me at believe it or not, back at safety. So I was learning the whole time in my career, and I was very blessed to play with the guys and coaches that I had.
Mike, you posted on your Twitter feed earlier that, let me make sure that I got the right quote. Listen, educate yourself, be a part of the solution. And that was yesterday, and it's an Instagram post, and it was a picture of Martin Luther King. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. A lot of people have said a lot of things. A lot of people are doing a lot of things. And a lot of people we hope will continue to listen. Your thoughts about America today?
Well, I think that, people need to get off the bench and get in the game. And I've been, one of the great things I think I learned in playing football was this, is that, you want to be a leader, and sometimes you feel like a leader means I'm not going to that event because I know there's going to be trouble there. But I believe that you need to get involved in these things, not for the trouble part or to, but on the condition, like I will go, but as soon as trouble breaks out, I'm out of there. I'll go with you guys to this event, but I'm not going to stay there if there's going to be trouble. I think we should be there, and I think that's what good leaders do. I mean, they go, they protest. They'll when they see the protest isn't going the way that it was supposed to go, they see people doing things that they hadn't been talked over. If it was talked over before, they'd say, hey, look, if this happens, we're out of here. We're just going to leave. If something happens, it goes down, we're going to do that. So I'm always saying nowadays, you have to, if you see something, you got to say something. You got to say it. Don't just let it happen, because that's kind of been secretly promoting it or endorsing it. And sometimes things need to change. And this seems to be a time where there's an opportunity to see a lot of change. But there are so many things that are already tightened down pretty tough that the change is not going to be easy. And because of our systems and how we have to use, votes, and people have to vote about, for different change. And that means everybody has to be educated and know what they're voting about and what the real issues are. And it's difficult sometimes. So leadership is not easy, and change is not easy, but it's definitely worth it. And you have to get involved if you really want to see it happen.
We have heard from a lot of different people about it, and great to have you as one of them. Santana Dotson, former Packers and Buccaneers star, played at Baylor. He went to high school where George Floyd was. He's older than George Floyd, but met him at a motivational talk with the football team. He's going to be coming up next. We love the time we've had with you, Mike. We appreciate it. Hope to see you again on Radio Row at the Super Bowl whenever we get back to normal, and thanks for your time.
All right. Thank you, guys. Good talking to you, as always.
You too. That's Mike Haynes, Raiders, Patriots, Hall of Famer, college Hall of Famer at Arizona State, and the story that he didn't even want to play defensive back and turned out to be as good as anybody that's ever played that position.
You know what tripped me out about watching highlights, and I pulled that quote from Matt Millen from that thing today, was the face mask that defensive backs used to wear. Like, they didn't – now everything's sleek. If you're a defensive back, you've got a sleek face mask.
Deion, man.
Yeah,
that's
Deion
changed that.
Everybody changed it. Now, Mike Haynes, I mean, he had a bar across the middle. I mean, he had tons. I mean, he had a big face mask.
Deion had that face mask that had the two lower bars where little closer than the two outside top bars, and that was a cool looking face mask, and now it's just commonplace. But I remember when those first came out and Dion was rocking those, and everybody who played football wanted that Dion face mask. I mean, that's how much influence he had with the style and things like that. But yeah, Mike Haynes, I wonder what Radio Row may look like. That's a long, long ways away. I mean, who the heck knows what's going on in the world by the time February rolls around.
They might pay for our internet lines this year just to get us out there.
They might beg us to come out there.
Heck, Tampa. The good news is, I mean, for going, it's in Florida, who hasn't cared about this thing the whole time.
No,
I mean,
they've rocked it, man.
They've been like, no, we'll shut down for a couple of weeks.
I did see a picture from Disney World today because they've opened up the parks at a certain capacity. I guess they've had them open now for a few days, couple weeks, whatever it's been, but one real populated. I think people are still a little bit skittish about, going the full theme park route at this point, but there's a few people out there, look like. So I think that's going to be a slow return like a lot of other things.
I'm sure the people that are there are getting a great deal.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure, and not having to wait very long for rides. This might be the best time ever to go to Disney World and not have to wait at all. Meanwhile,
the only time Smokey would go.
Yeah, probably.
Right now, you just walk right in.
Meanwhile, there have been some stories that have broken over the course of these last 2.5 hours. For one, NBA Players Association have approved the 22-team format for the 2019-20 season. So Walt Disney World, speak of the devil, in Orlando, Florida, that's going to be coming up on July 31st, it looks like. I mean, the sides needed to come together and agree to things, and so it appears as though that's occurred. And so, we will have the NBA's return probably in late July.
Okay, that's great.
I mean, I knew we already knew that, but we didn't have the official the NBPA, the Players Association's vote yet. So now we do have that, and they've approved it, so there you go.
Couple of quick notes that we didn't get to because we were kind of bouncing around early on with the guests being flipped around with Greg Tepper and O.J. Anderson. UFC President Dana White Thursday yesterday, the first date for the UFC Fight Island, July the 11th. Also a Vegas-based event on June 27th at UFC Apex.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about Fight Island. He was going to do that originally for, I guess, like their return event when everybody was completely shut down. The UFC was the one, along with pro wrestling organizations, that was really trying to keep it going or at least trying to be the first back. UFC accomplished that. They've already run, events, and they've been successes. They've been good. Like, cornermen have tested positive. There was a false positive this week with one of the cornermen, but they retested and found out he was okay, and they're testing daily, like all the time. So I think Dana White's probably had 50 COVID tests at this point in the last month. I mean, that's how often they're doing it. But yeah, Fight Island was an idea because of social distancing, and was much talked about, kind of went away for a little while, but they are going to actually have an event there, and I'm interested in seeing what that looks like, and I think it could, potentially be pretty cool.
Yeah, that could be very, very interesting. Stephen Vaughn, thank you, on Twitter, reached out to me, or direct message. I love the premium content, the best purchase of the year. Max Olson thank you very much, Stephen. Max Olson, and he was the one who joined us from Richmond, Virginia. Max Olson, Craig, you want to do this when the NCAA portal database is packed.
Yeah, so I just took one slice out of this article. I didn't want to get in, but I know at least one or two websites are probably, I think it was 24/7, Bud Elliott, who was going to put together like a decommitment tracker. They've already had a decommitment tracker. That's been created already, but this is going to be for like the transfers, and it's going to be tracking what teams lose the most as far as commitments go over the next year before these guys actually sign, because we're at a historic rate of guys being committed at this point. According to NCAA, and so there's all these commits. There's going to be craziness in recruiting, but all these transfer portal guys who have not been able to take visits and do all those types of things, that's another aspect of this. According to the NCAA portal database, 202 scholarship FBS players have entered the portal this offseason and enrolled at their new homes. Nearly half of them ended up going down to the FCS level or lower. So half of the transfers have gone to a lower level. Of the 104 scholarship transfers who enrolled at FBS programs this offseason, listen to this very closely, guys. Of the 104 scholarship transfers who enrolled at FBS programs this offseason, more than 20% joined as walk-ons. And I was reading a story about a West Virginia walk-on, and that's the way some teams are handling this, because guys are in a hurry to just get somewhere, and they're like, you know what, I'll pay for a year just to have that year. But this is really just only talking about the spring guys. We're not even talking about like the Houston offensive lineman who's been taking his time. You know, there's still guys like that out there. So this month of June, we'll see a lot of finalizations on that, especially with teams getting back to workouts. But, you know, the odds are, speaking of these numbers, if you enter the transfer portal, it's 50-50 on whether or not you're going to end up going down a level. So keep that in mind, because I think a lot of these guys enter and they think they're going to be De'Aaron King and just go from the Big 12 to the ACC, you know, or not the Big 12, the AAC to the ACC and step up, and that's really not been the case.
Yeah, that's a mess. That could end up being about the largest human cholesterol pipeline portal, whatever you want to call it. That could end up being a disaster.
That's why.
I mean, just like everyone go where you want, which is what I think everyone wants them to do.
Well, that's why the one-time transfer rule just needs to happen. Just do
but
it.
It's just so hard to do right now.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, they'll do it if they can do that for next year, because this can change. So they're going to have to do it for next year, for 2021.
But the transfer
Which is
portal,
a free open deal?
No. Where you can, kind of where the one-time transfer means that you can transfer without penalty. You can play right away anywhere you want. And if you do it again, then you've got to go through the whole old school rigmarole, which should make, you would think in theory, it would make people really think about, okay, I've got one shot to do this before this becomes a headache.
I wanted to pass along this because this is an example of, maybe a bad not the way you're supposed to do this, but this was from a couple of days ago. Louisiana quarterback Braden Hawkins was in the transfer portal, entered his name in there. Whoever he signs with next will be his fifth team in less than 3 years.
Wow.
Eventually you'll find that starting spot, huh?
Yeah. And that's trickling down into the high school ranks as well in some cases.
I'll run it real quick. I know we got to take a break, but UTEP in February 2018 he signed. July that year, he joined Maryland as a walk-on. He then went to Northwest Mississippi Community College after 2018, and then he joined Louisiana last year, and now he's transferring again. So that's just crazy.
When we come back, he played at Yates. George Floyd was a Yates graduate. And Santana Dotson happened to notice him when he came back to school, his alma mater, to speak to the football team after they had suffered a devastating playoff loss. And it's because of how big and tall George Floyd was. Santana Dotson, next on SicEm365 Radio.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one, commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Hey, This is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. And order 30-pound bags of live crawfish by noon on Thursday and pick up on Friday to enjoy the weekend. Live crawfish available right now. And Waco Custom Marketplace doors are open for business Monday through Friday from 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5. And crawfish boil boxes available as well. Make your order for live crawfish by noon on Thursday. Pick up on Friday for the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh kolaches, cinnamon rolls, and baked bread daily. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, and house-cured and smoked bacon. Spices, seasoning, soup mixes, charcoal, and lighter fluid. Waco Custom Marketplace, doors open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5, 425 Lake Air Drive or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. This segment on Baylor Athletics on SicEm365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
5:32 is the time on SicEm365 Radio. If you haven't been able to stay tuned to the show from start to finish, we have had an amazing list of guests, and we now have Santana Dotson, former Baylor All-American, Buccaneers and Packers, great, and first time, well, we've had a return from someone other than our weekly analyst that we have on the show, Santana Dotson, who today, ESPN.com, I think it was yesterday, featured that he once met George Floyd, and then finally put two and two together, and Santana Dotson joins us now on SicEm365 Radio yet again. When you realized that was a young man you had met when you were in the NFL, what crossed your mind?
Definitely disbelief, and my heart sunk down into my chest. You know, it's probably a day after the event, or maybe about 12 or so hours after the event, in Minneapolis, and then actually one of my coaches reached out to me the next day, one of my high school coaches, to remind me exactly who Mr. Floyd was, because we had, most of us growing up in the hood or neighborhood, we get nicknames. So as he was introduced to me, Mr. Floyd's nickname in high school was Big Freak, or Super Freak, as I might add. And that was because he grew so fast in middle school and high school. But when I met him, he was one of the captains of the Yates football team that we won state my junior year. So this would have been 5 years later. In 1992, 93, they went to the state finals, and they lost in the state finals that year. And he was one of the team captains that played for that state team. So I was reminded then of exactly who he was, and my heart just kind of sunk a little bit, and you just felt a little bit more despair from a terrible situation that was already terrible.
Santana, he was someone who, despite mistakes in his life, was outreaching and trying to help people. Does that make this sting so much more because he was someone who was active in the community and trying to help people who did not to make the mistakes he made in his youth?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. America is the land of second chances, and he had actually left and went up to Minneapolis to start all over again, and had been up there for 4 years and was doing well. So the fact that he made it up there and the demise, George was the type of guy that would give you his last. If he had one of something and you needed it, he'd make sure you had it. And if you've been keeping up with the story, you can tell that when you hear the family talk about him, if there was a pot on the stove, every kid in the neighborhood was there and they could take part in that pot. And that's the way he was raised. So that doesn't mean he necessarily did everything right. And I don't think none of us do. But that being said, his life, he never should have left us the way he left us.
Santana, you have told us before when we've had you on, including about a month ago, that you were told and learned along with those who would listen, even at an age when you were like 7 or 8, I believe, that you had to you had to prepare for what you might face. And here you are now, 41. Is that right?
I'm 50 years old this year.
I'm sorry. Yeah, he was 50 years old, and here we are 4 decades later, and it's still there. And we've had so many student athletes that have come on the show and said they didn't want to be a statistic, and that's not George Floyd. This isn't about that. That's not about what he's a statistic in another different way, in a worse way. But how do we get it? How do we get that across? How do we get better? How do we learn? How do we get smarter and educate those who don't get it?
You're exactly right. You have to be open to the communication. You have to be open to the communication of an African American or Black people in the community. You have to care. And honestly, I was actually talking to my kids about this. The only thing that has actually changed from this conversations that we've had in Black communities about these things happening in the hands of the police, the only thing that's changed is the videotape or the camera phone. Because even if you look, you have to be honest with yourself that even if we look at the report that the police officers wrote after that event, did not match what the bystander videoed on tape. And what does that tell us? That the book would have been closed and a police officer's report would have been taken as the final report. And we know that is not correct to what happened on that occasion. So we have got to understand that if we really want to fix the system and identify the problems in the system, those systems have got to be revamped.
For people that want to take the next step in, after the marches are over and after all that, what's the easiest way? What would you suggest for people to do to actually make the next step and change after voicing their displeasure?
I would think the first thing. I'm sorry, this frog is catching me today. I would think the first thing, the most important thing, is just to understand the economic powers that we have as private citizens. And that being said, we need to mandate the changes in legislature, and we need to mandate the changes by big businesses. Because if you affect them economically, then they'll fall in line. There are almost 20,000 different police departments across our nation. And there needs to be a governing policy and procedure ordinance, in my opinion, over all of them that needs to come down from the federal level. And right now, none of that has happened. So the police officers' policy and procedures can be different in Waco, Texas, for instance, to Houston, Texas, to Conroe, Texas. So all of that needs to be changed. And I firmly believe that we as taxpayers, police officers work for us. They work for the public. So we have a right to request body cameras, audio from each and every stop. And that being said, that will help change the system.
Santana, there's a petition that was going around here over the last 24 hours or so, started amongst the Baylor community, and some people have been passing it around. A 2018 grad was actually the one that started it up, and it's basically asking for some diversity training as far as that being a requirement for current students, faculty, and or I guess Linda Livingston, so they have diversity training, but having some type of an online requirement or a course for freshmen speaking about diversity. How helpful do you think that would be, having been, a freshman at one time yourself and knowing what that experience is like? How helpful do you think things like that would also be?
I think it would be great, just understanding, one of the best places, and sometimes we call it a sanctuary, for me as a football athlete, as a professional and collegiate athlete, was the locker room. And what you have in that locker room is the dynamic of people from all over the place. Big city guys, big black guys from Houston, Texas, like myself. My roommate was from Axel, Texas, a white guy from Axel, Texas, and we ended up being best friends while I was at Baylor. And the same thing happened while I was in Green Bay and Tampa Bay in my professional career. And the makeup of that NFL locker room, you start understanding and embracing the differences and understanding that we're all are human and we're all are children of God. And we all are the same despite our backgrounds and where we come from. And at the end of the day, we all want to provide for our families, take care of our communities, and have abundance. So once you understand that, you can embrace the differences. And, and let me add this too. America is one of the best places in the world. And one of the reasons why is because you have people from so many different backgrounds. You have, and to be able to take part of those stories of how and when they came to the good US of A and things like that, that is part of the training that's needed for everybody. So you start understanding the hows and the whys. There are a couple of what we call the original sins in the United States that people don't like to talk about. One would probably be the Native American issue as far as the land that was taken away from them. And the other would be slavery. Slaves in 1610, African Americans were bought for 250 or 60 years, bought to the United States and bought and sold. So one human owned another human. Those are things that it makes you uneasy and uncomfortable to talk about. But once you can talk about those things and discuss those differences, it allows us to move forward in a better place. One of the things that gives me hope from this situation is the people I see protesting in large numbers, majority of them peacefully, are people of all ages, all religions, all colors. So that tells me that finally everybody is fed up. Not just a small majority, not just a small percentage, but everybody is fed up of where we are right now.
I actually saw a picture today, and I want to say it was New York, but I mean, I've read so much, but it was a Hasidic Jewish community, and they were all outside, and they had, I guess, like a lemonade stand or something set up, and in the background there was a sign that said Black Lives Matter. So, like, to your point, just everybody is out there making their voice heard. And to clarify on that petition, it said, it's a petition for a requirement for Baylor freshmen to take a class on racism, diversity, privilege, and oppression. It would be an anti-racism and multicultural course for first-year students. So I just wanted to clarify there.
Santana, there are some NFL owners who want to, like, I saw Michael Jordan, the Jordan brand. They're going to donate $100 million, and it's over a lengthy amount of time. Not a lengthy amount of time. It's an amazing amount of money. But I've seen some NFL owners that say, hey, we want to put $1 million towards this or that. And yet a lot of them were very, very quiet 3 years ago, or not quiet and very concerned about Kaepernick and kneeling. Money's not the answer here, is it? It's listening and learning and educating. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I think it's definitely listening and learning and educating. Kaepernick 4 years ago tried to have this conversation again with the world as far as social justice. and police brutality in our communities. And we decided to turn it into something else. We decided to make it, and when I say we, the powers that be decided to make it something against the flag. Even when he was sitting at first during the national anthem to speak out on social justice, even when former veteran from the armed forces asked him to kneel instead of sitting, and he did that, that was a problem for us. And why was it a problem? Because the powers that be don't want to have those discussions like we talked about earlier in this interview. But at the end of the day, it's a discussion that needs to be had. The NFL came out with a statement like 4 years ago, as well as a couple of weeks ago, that, you know, they are anti-racism, and Kaepernick, as a U.S. citizen, had the right to take a knee. But at the same time, you've got 32 owners that decided to protest on their own, and he lost his job and his career because of it. And he hadn't been able to get another job for 3 to 4 years. So those are just some of the things that we're speaking out socially right now.
Well, Santana, it's interesting that you do mention that, because since this interview has started, the NFL has released a video of Roger Goodell, and I haven't seen the video, obviously, because we've been doing this, but the tweet is, "We, the NFL, condemn racism and the systematic oppression of black people. We, the NFL, admit we were wrong for not listening to NFL players earlier and encourage all to speak out and peacefully protest. We, the NFL, believe Black Lives Matter, #inspire change." So that's good to hear from them, but what does that mean for a guy like Colin Kaepernick now?
Yeah. I mean, that's the harsh reality of it. You know, people ask me all the time, do I think he should be in the NFL? My answer is always yes. But will he get another chance? I'd have to say I highly doubt it, you know. But that remains to be seen. Sometimes you're a martyr for your cause. I was telling my kids a couple of nights ago when we were having this conversation about everything going on, there was a Life magazine, if you guys remember that magazine. Oh, yeah. There was a Life magazine episode in 1961. The most hated man in the United States of America was a guy by the name of Martin Luther King. And why was he the most hated in America and one day ended up being assassinated? Was because he said, hey, we have a right. We shouldn't have to sit on the back of the bus. If we've got 10 cents like the next guy, we should be able to sit anywhere on the bus. And you know what? If we go in Walgreens and buy a sandwich, we shouldn't have to pick it up at the back window. We should be able to go into Walgreens, have that sandwich, and sit next to whoever's in there, because our money is just as good as the next guy. And he was hated for that. So it's an uncomfortable conversation. But I think once we get on the other side of this, you know, and look at our kids and our grandkids, we're going to appreciate the conversation we had today, because there's so much more potential in the United States for us to get where we really want to go.
We have really, ever since late last week, we've had so many different athletes. Darren Roberts, who played at Texas. We've had Tommy Harris, Roy Williams, Trent Shelton, wide receiver at Baylor, who's been very active and passionate on his Facebook Live and website show. We are trying to reach out to as many as we can to try to get opinions, feedback as well. It's been, you know, obviously there's still a long way to go. But, you know, having you on and the connection of Yates and George Floyd and the fact you met him in that pep talk means quite a bit. And we do appreciate you jumping back on with us again, Santana. Don't stop what you believe in.
Definitely, and I appreciate you guys keeping the conversation going. Like I said, us and the fellow alumni, it's a community school. It's one of the foundation bricks of the Third Ward community here in Houston, Texas, and we've made the decision, and our mission is to breathe for George Floyd and live the life he wanted to live and speak the way George Floyd, speak for him, as he doesn't any longer have a voice. So I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity. Was it enjoyable? No, you know, but just part of the duty of what we have to do, just a topic of discussion.
No doubt. Thank you, Santana. Appreciate your time. Santana Dotson, Yates, great, Buccaneers, Packers, obviously Baylor All-American with us. His story, by the way, when he met George Floyd, is on ESPN.com. when he came back to the campus to meet with the team after they had just lost a playoff game.
I saw that tweet as Paul did, and that's a nice first step. But can you imagine if Roger Goodell or in that tweet it just said, we admit we were wrong about everything, and direct it, at least part of it, to specifically Colin Kaepernick? Because we are talking, I mean, just do it. Like, what are you doing? Just
say,
Colin, do it.
Colin Kaepernick, I'm sorry.
Yeah, why is that so hard? You just admitted you were wrong about everything. But you can't just specifically say it, and you could have taken out two birds with one stone, and it's not going to just solve everything overnight, but gosh dang, man, just say it. Like, why is that so hard?
By the way, on Tuesday, Dr. Livingstone, when she did speak about the death of George Floyd, she did list required diversity training for all students and faculty and staff starting this fall.
This fall?
Yeah,
Okay.
Starting this fall. Why is it the right thing to do? Our Christian values call us to love and respect one another. Racial justice is not ancillary to BU's mission. Rather, it's part of the mission. Also host a Baylor Conversation series this summer on responsibility as Christians regarding race, peace, and repentance. Continue to strengthen the diversity of our faculty and staff as we attract diverse candidates committed to our mission. Treat all faculty and student staff with respect, dignity, promote equal opportunities, prohibit discriminatory practices, including unlawful discrimination, as outlined as part of Baylor's firm commitment to maintaining an environment where we can all strive.
Well, I was looking at that petition, and I want to originally say they wanted like 2,500. I think it's changed, but maybe I'm wrong on that. But the goal's now 7,500, and closing in on 6,000 out of that 7,500 goal. So you can find that at change.org. And
but it's a petition of what she, in some ways, said. But it's just another way to...
Yeah, I would need to cross-check on if they all match up exactly. So I don't know if it's exactly what's being asked for. But, certainly I don't think it would hurt any university out there if they don't have something in place on anti-racism or, getting to know different cultures, backgrounds. I mean, I think anything you can do to help in that direction, it can't in any way be viewed as a negative. So I don't know why anybody would have an issue with it, and why not,
We'll be back to wrap up this week, number 9 of SicEm365 Radio. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody, the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more. Stonewood-dental.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Have you ever thought about how great it would feel a month or 6 months or a year from now if you weighed less and were in better shape and more fit than you are today? Think about that. Words can't explain the confidence I have because of what I've experienced and what I continue to experience every day at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. I promise if you join today, you'll thank me later. Offering a variety of different classes, over 40 of them every single week, including boot camp on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. And there's free daycare. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday 5 to 10, Friday 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday 7 to 7. Contact personal trainers Christy London or Randall Corley and let them make you feel better about yourself. Also, world-class tennis facility with Pro Britt Coleman and Director of Adult Tennis and Special Events Joe Rosa. A spacious, clean, and sanitized workout room, no intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an all-new atmosphere that will make you love doing burpees. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio poll is brought to you by Pickup Outfitters, where everything purchased and installed comes with our famous lifetime installation guarantee and free warranty assistance. 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
By the way, that poll, with the poll that I put up on the quarterbacks, and it was quite different. Paul, go check the front page real quick. But the poll that we put up, Bryce Petty ended up with 51%. That poll is over now. I got the alert. Charlie Brewer had like 36%, and then J.J. Joe and
I saw Seth comment on it.
Yeah. Seth even said something, but I felt bad.
Was he like, hey, man.
He voted for Don Truhl.
Yeah.
He said there's a lot of great candidates, but my vote goes towards Don Truhl. So that's what Seth Russell himself said.
I feel like I have to call him.
So we haven't had Don Truhl on yet, so that would be a good one. Okay, so the winner on the website, SicEm365.com, of the Pickup Outfitters poll is Bryce Petty at 43%. Charlie Brewer at 27%. Seth Russell got 21%. Cody Carlson dropped down to 6%. And good news, J.J. Joe, 4%.
He got a vote. He had a precinct. I want to, as we close out week number 9, Craig and Paul and David Smoke here, I want to mention again our sponsors. 9 weeks into this,